All right, what's up, YouTube? This Kwali Kush and Kwame Remesu back again, like we never left. What's going on today? We're gonna be talking about the Bible and the narrative of Satan and why everybody seems to believe that Satan is so evil. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not up here saying you should worship Satan or he's a good guy or nothing. I'm just simply reading the Bible for what it says. And when you do that, I don't see Satan committing a lot of evil. I mean, he really don't do anything wrong unless God tells him do that, and then he goes and obeys God. So we're gonna get down to the nitty gritty today. Uh, I got my AI host and Kwame in the building, so y'all in for a real treat today. AI Quali Kush, can you introduce yourself to the people for me and tell them all about Satan in the Bible, and then I want you to bring on Kwame Remesu.
Sure, I'd be happy to provide an introduction. According to the Bible, Satan, also known as Lucifer, is an angel who was cast out of heaven after rebelling against God. In the book of Genesis, Satan appears in the form of a serpent, tempting Adam and Eve to eat from the tree of knowledge, which led to their expulsion from the Garden of Eden. Throughout the Bible, Satan is portrayed as a cunning and deceitful figure who tempts people to sin and opposes the will of God.
All right, Kwame, what you think about Satan's evil nature? You see him doing a lot of evil in the Bible?
No, I never seen him do really thing and anything evil. A lot of things that Satan did was because God allowed him to do. Like for the serpent, you know what I'm saying? When you look at the Genesis chapter 3, when he first appeared, well, a lot of scholars would say that that wasn't Satan. Some scholars say that they were like apologists would say that was Satan in serpent form. But when Satan said, did God tell you that you would die if you eat of the tree? And he said, and when Eve said yes, he said we would die. And Satan, all the serpent did was tell the truth. He just told the truth. You would not die, for God knows that you would be like him. You know what I'm saying? The day that you eat of it. So wasn't that the truth? Because when they ate the fruit, when both of them ate the forbidden fruit or whatever from the tree, God even said that they are not now they have became one of us. So in my mind, I'm trying to connect this. I'm trying to connect the serpent to God. Because how did the serpent know what would happen if they ate the fruit, and then God end up saying, "See, they have came like one of us." So wasn't God in
And
this? Wasn't he the serpent too?
why would God lie to them and say that they was
Yeah,
gonna die if they wasn't gonna die?
yeah.
Like,
But then you got
shouldn't Satan be
apologists like,
lying?
Venomm Fang X. Who was another apologist that you debated on here? You got apologists always saying that, well, it was a spiritual death. Now, I didn't think your spirit could die. Or some of them will say it's a separation.
Thank you for making that point. How you gonna have a spiritual death if the spirit's supposed to be infinite? That's the whole point of having a spirit anyway, right? They say your flesh died, but your spirit gonna live on. So what the hell is a spiritual death? And why didn't it say that explicitly in the Bible? Where they even get that from? That's what I'd be wondering. Like, where do you get that spiritual death thing from? Because it don't say it in the Bible, and it don't make no sense if you even believe in the spirit, which I don't. But if you believe that a spirit exists, you're supposed to be infinite. You're supposed to never die. So how the hell they have a spiritual death? It seemed like the serpent
Exactly.
was the one who told the truth, and he didn't even tell them to eat the fruit. He just said, "If you eat it, you ain't gonna die. You just gonna have the knowledge of good and evil like God does."
Yep. And
He
then
never
God,
said go then.
right after that, God said they have became like one of us. Who is us? Who was he talking to? You know what I'm saying?
Us. That part though. Now
Yeah.
see, I know the
Who is
answer to
God
that
talking to?
question, but most Christians ain't ready for the answer to that question. They will
No,
never
they're not.
accept it unless they do the research themselves. The truth is, the people who wrote Genesis the first time, they believed in more than
Mhm.
one God. That's why I say us.
Yep.
That's why they talk about El and El being the mightiest of all the gods and all that stuff because they believed in multiple gods. But later
Yes, sir.
on, when they started changing it up, when monotheism came along, they believed in one God. So you see parts of the Bible where it say us, parts of the Bible where it say I. But this is over hundreds of years. So these beliefs are evolving as they go along, just like the narrative of Satan is evolving. as you go along. Nowhere in the Bible do it say Satan have red skin and horns and a pitchfork and nothing. But that's the image we all get in our head when we talk about the devil. Why is that?
Because Dante's the Catholic Church, what I'm saying, painted, well, the devil was actually blue, but then they painted him red later on because blue didn't seem more it didn't seem like it was more scary enough, because in Dante's Inferno, Satan was described as a beast with horns, pitchfork, and he was basically a man, like on South Park. That's what Satan supposed to look like. You know what I'm saying? So they had to change it up to make him look more appealing to, in order to instill fear into the people, into the masses, so they can control him. You know what I'm saying? Because a blue devil look like a Smurf. Like who gonna be scared of a Smurf? You know what I'm saying? A Smurf looking Satan. You know what I'm saying? So, now we're gonna paint this dude red. You know what I'm saying? I think Satan was a blood. You know what I'm saying? So whoever wrote the Bible probably was a blood back in the day. You know what I'm saying? They was super
Sound
whooping it.
crazy.
Nah,
But I
yeah,
heard like Dante's Inferno was originally supposed to be satire. Like it wasn't even meant to be serious. But somewhere along the way, people took it serious. You know what I'm saying? So like it's just crazy.
well, the
But
first pope, because
what struck me is odd.
mhm.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say the first. I think we got a delay, so I'm sorry if I'm interrupting. Sorry if it seemed like I'm interrupting you, but in the first century, well, the third was well, it was the fourth century. It was written in the 1300s, so fourth century. The Catholic Church needed to control, because a lot of people wouldn't believe in that stuff, so they needed something to get people to believe. Because you remember they had the great schisms and all this other stuff, the Crusades. A lot of people wasn't believing in that stuff. That's why they was killing. They said, "Well, dang, we can't kill him. We just can't keep killing people to make them believe." Let's scare them spiritually, because they understood the human psyche of fear. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Fire and brimstone and all this other stuff. Make him look like a demon and stuff like. Because when you look at most movies now, only version of the devil that you're gonna get it read in certain movies is like Legends. I don't know if you remember that movie Legend back in the 80s. Yeah, that's what Satan supposed to look like. You know, but when you look at like modern demon movies, Satan is not red. It's like he's a man or a woman. You know what I'm saying, or an
Yeah,
androgynous figure.
yeah. Like they
So
got the
yeah,
TV show on Netflix, Lucifer. I actually like the way they did the story because on that TV show they made Satan like just equal to Jesus. Like we both God's son, but he was rebelling against his father. You know what I'm saying? And they played it
right.
like that. It's like him and Jesus was brothers. And when you read the book, it's kind of like the Bible. That's kind of how it is. Like he's definitely not he's not in opposition to God in the story. Like when you read the Bible, Satan's supposed to mean adversary came from house of time, which means the adversary.
Yep.
But in the Bible story, he's not adverse to God. He's obeying God's orders. He's having conversations. They talking like they boys. Like, hey man, what's up? Where you been? Man, I've been all around the earth, walking up and down it, then going to and fro. Like that's how you talk to your boy. That ain't how you talk to your enemy,
Exactly.
your
Exactly. Like
adversary.
in the book of Job, Satan just walked in. He bypassed the receptionist, and he was like, "All right, man, I'm gonna go see God." And God was talking to his sons, but we don't even know who they were. You know what I'm saying? And like you said, Satan walked into the office, and God was him and his sons were watching booty talking. When Satan walked in the door, God was like, "Oh shit, let me turn it off. Let me turn it off." All right, man, what's up, Satan? I knew you was coming, but I told her not to let you in. I'm gonna fire them, but type shit. So
Man,
Satan was like,
in the book,
"What's up,
they
God?"
boys, and then you got the part where Satan offers Jesus basically a bunch of land or something like that, offers him a kingdom. He's like, "Oh, this will be yours if you bow down and worship me." But how you gonna
Hmm.
offer somebody something that you don't own? So he must have owned. Like, is the Bible implying that Satan owns the earth or at least part of it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know
So
if
if
God
he
God
offered,
had God had it in his will or something. When God went to his lawyers and he said, "You know what? I'm gonna give Jesus 3/4 and I'm gonna give Satan 1/3." You know, of the earth. So Satan probably didn't have much to offer him. But that goes back to the Cain and Abel story. Not Cain and Abel, but the Asar and Set story. The Sar and Set story is a direct correlation of Jesus and Satan and Cain and Abel. Those are direct. Those are because when you look at Cain and Abel, they fought, right? But then you get into the New Testament, Jesus and Satan are at odds with each other. But at the same time, Satan wasn't really
Facts.
hating on Jesus like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So my thing is with that story you just mentioned. I'm like, who was there writing this stuff down when Jesus went into the wilderness by himself? So how did
Man,
we
it's so
know
many
what?
parts of the Bible like that, especially in Genesis. Who the hell was the
Yeah,
witness saying that heard God say, "Let there be light"?
yeah, I don't know who heard him say it. I guess Moses existed before he existed. But when you look at the Bible, when you look at Genesis and Exodus, actually the book of Exodus was written 800 years, if I'm not mistaken, either between 2 to 800 years before Genesis. So how the hell are they gonna be running from something when they wasn't even born yet? You know what I'm saying? So the Sanhedrins, which is basically like the Persians, they wrote the book of Genesis and the book of Exodus. The Sanhedrins did. This was in the fifth, sixth century. So you're
Hmm.
talking like a little bit after the Codex Sinaiticus, or the Codex Sinaiticus was written. So what they did was they just took a lot of the ancient text that was around in that area at the time, because I remember you did a video, an educational video on it. Y'all need to go check that out. You know what I'm saying? The history of the Bible by Quayla Kush. You gotta go check that shit out. So when you look at the times when they wrote this stuff around the fifth, sixth century, they was copying a lot of stuff. They were just taking bits and pieces of ancient Egypt, ancient Greek, um,
Persia.
Persia. Yeah, they were taking they were taking a lot of stuff like Asher's flood story. You know what I'm saying? The new Ankh from Kemet. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when you look at these texts are out of order. They're not in chronological order. You know what I'm saying? And I know
Mhm.
this. I know I'm off topic, but I say it to say this: because of Dante's Inferno, they gave they had, once they instilled that fear into people, they basically made it to where they would not question why is the Bible written like this? Because now Christians won't question nothing, and they got this saying, "Don't lean onto your own understanding," because they got that fear of Satan in their mind. If I try to question God, Satan gonna bother me in my sleep, or sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis, they think Satan is sitting on your stomach. Like, like, come on, man. Why would
Man,
Satan take time out of his busy day to come mess with you? Because you
they
question
call them
God.
believers. They call them believers for a reason, man. Because
Yeah,
they believe a whole bunch of shit, dog. And I'll be wondering, like, how you come to this conclusion? Like, how you end up believing some shit that's so far off left field? You know what I'm saying? That ain't got no demonstration for it. But it's this
exactly.
religion.
All sleep
It's this religion.
paralysis is they think it's Satan or Lilith is sitting on your stomach while you sleep. Like, did you see him? Because I had sleep paralysis before a couple of times, but I didn't see nobody sitting on me. I just opened my eyes, but I couldn't move. All it is because the serotonin in your mind, your serotonin is overflowing with the melatonin. So your body's in a deep sleep. You said you had lucid dreams before. I don't think you saw Satan.
All the time.
It'd be scary. I mean, it'd be
All the
kind of,
time.
I don't know. I ain't gonna say
Let me
scary, but
tell
I'd
you
be like,
something, though, man.
well, damn, I guess he is real.
It can be scary because when you have in sleep paralysis, a lot of times like you in a half sleep state, so you looking at whatever is in your room or wherever you're sleeping at, but you still dreaming, right? So you can
Mm,
hallucinate. So sometimes you will see things. And the
yeah,
first time I had sleep paralysis, it was the most terrifying experience I ever had. But because I'm a researcher, I didn't just immediately go, "Oh shit, that's a ghost or a demon or some shit." I looked it up, said,
mm,
this is what I just typed it into Google. Like I saw blah 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 figure floating, and then it turned out I wasn't the only one having these hallucinations. Everybody else did, and they explained, "Oh, this is sleep paralysis. I bet you couldn't move. I bet." I'm like, "Yeah, that was what was going on." And then it's
mm,
a science behind it. You know what I'm saying? All it is just it happens to you every night. Sometimes it usually happens while you sleep, so you don't notice it. But sometimes you wake up and your body hasn't woken up with you, so your body's still asleep. That's what sleep paralysis is, and you can hallucinate on
yeah,
that. And I don't hallucinate on it now. I do it for fun. So now I be looking at hallucination, trying to study them shits, like trying to see like what you can
mm,
do with a hallucination. Can you hear it? Can you feel it? Does it look real? Man, that shit looks so fucking real, dog. But like if you pay attention while it's going on, you could tell it's a hallucination because something to be off. Like for instance,
Yeah,
one time I had sleep paralysis and my bedroom door was missing. So I knew I was like slick dreaming because I know I got a door right there. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah.
it's gone. So clearly I'm hallucinating. You know what I'm saying? Because I
But you're
know it's a door right
screaming.
there.
Yeah, you're screaming, but nobody can hear you. It's like an
Right.
internal scream. So I don't like sleep. Like I ain't gonna lie. When I was a believer, this was my evidence for Jesus. Right when I was a believer, when I would have those sleep paralysis dreams, I'd be like Jesus, 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 and then it would slowly go away. But that's not why it went away. My body was just at the end of the sleep cycle.
Yeah. You just ready to
When
go
I
up.
became an atheist, yeah, when your body's at the end of the sleep cycle, it's gonna wake up. Not because you called on Jeebus. You know what I'm saying?
AI Quelly
Yeah,
Kush,
man.
what can you tell us about sleep paralysis hallucinations?
Sleep paralysis is a temporary state of paralysis that typically occurs while falling asleep or waking up. During sleep paralysis, a person may find themselves unable to move or speak, and they may also experience vivid, often frightening hallucinations. These hallucinations can involve a wide range of sensory experiences, such as visual, auditory, or tactile sensations. Sleep paralysis is a relatively common phenomenon and is often associated with stress, sleep deprivation, and certain sleep disorders like narcolepsy.
Bam. That's it. It ain't no red devil with a pitchfork
I'm glad I could
and
answer your question adequately. Do you have any additional questions about sleep paralysis or any other topic? Sleep paralysis is often mistaken for demonic possession or supernatural occurrences.
So you think every instance of a person claiming to see a demon can be explained naturally, or you think it's actually demons and stuff that exist out here in the universe?
Most reported encounters with so-called demons can be dismissed as hallucinations, misattributions, or simple mistakes. There is no empirical evidence for the existence of supernatural entities like demons. People who claim to have encountered demons are often experiencing sleep paralysis, mental health issues, or other psychological phenomena.
I don't disagree with you.
I'm glad we
yeah,
see eye
like,
to eye on this matter. It's crucial to approach claims of the supernatural with skepticism and critical thinking.
And the AI be on point, man. I'm trying to tell you.
oh yeah. Glad we got an AI buddy on our side. But yeah, man. So back to the things that Satan did, But when you look at the Book of Job now, that's a very crucial story to go against Christianity um, when it comes to people believing that Satan is evil. If they read the book of Job now, the pastor will read the book of Job, but he's only going to read the parts where he's going to skip over what actually happened. You know what I'm saying within the story. That he's not going to read the part where Satan said, you know what, your servant, Job, man, that fool like you, man. He riding you, he riding the carousel with you. You know what I'm saying? But man, I guarantee, dog, God, if you take away his stuff, he'll curse your name. And God, like, man, bro, you tripping.
And
Man, that's my
another
dog, man. I created him. Say what?
another instance where Satan told the truth. That's another instance where
Mm,
Satan told the truth.
yeah.
Because didn't Job curse his name once
Yep.
he
Because I'm finna get
took
into
away
that
all this
too.
shit?
hmm Yeah. Once he
But
started
what?
getting them bed sores and his wife left him, his wife came in there like, dang, nigga, what's wrong? I mean, dang, what's wrong with you? Why you look like that? Ugh, why you got all them sores on you, bro? Did you give me something? And she was like, you know what? I'm finna have to go to the clinic. If I gotta go to the clinic and I'm gonna, you know how they get. Yeah, she thought she had to go to the clinic or something, you know what I'm saying? Because Job said, why, God? Why did you forsaken me? And his homeboys and Job homeboy like, dude, God is effing you up, dude. Like, bro, you might as well just get on your knees and you better pray harder. And then when soon as Job got ready to say, you know what, F it, I'm done. That's when God came out of the sky. You know what, Job? I'm gonna give you back everything, bro. I'm gonna give you back your flat screen TV, your house. I'm gonna give you a mansion. I'm gonna put you on MTV cribs, everything, So yeah,
But the thing that
so
get me
God
though
knew
is
he was
that
gonna. Yeah, God knew he was
God
gonna go to
killed his
bed.
kids, right? He killed
Yeah,
his
come on.
kids, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna give him some more kids." But you killed his first kids though, like, bro, that's still
Yeah,
kind of messed up, ain't it?
And those kids that God gave Job wasn't even his kids. They was just some made up artificial. Like I'm like, you killed my wife, you killed my kids, you killed all my workers, you destroyed my garden. You know what I'm saying? He like, God, what the fuck is wrong with you, Nick? What the hell is wrong with you, God? Man, I would, you know what, man, Job, chapter 39, Job, I'm gonna keep it real with you, man. Satan thought you were gonna curse my name, but I bet Job was like, but you knew I wasn't gonna curse your name. Why you still go through with a bet? Well, God said, well, I want to prove my power. And I bet Job is like, you did all this to prove something to a mother, to a motherfucker that didn't even matter. Why are you concerned what Satan thinks about you? You supposed to be God. No, I don't know.
Hmm.
I ain't gonna, I ain't
I
gonna
mean,
spoil, I ain't gonna spoil, I ain't gonna spoil the whole Job. Cause I know you want me to say some of that for the Bible comedy hour. So
I'm struggling to understand what the moral of this story is. Because most fables have a message behind it. What's the message behind this? Oh, I know what the message is. The message is even when your life is fucked up and you down and out and everything sucks for you, still have faith in God. Because remember, Job, you ain't got it as bad as he got it, and he had faith. So it's a story to
yeah,
keep people believing in this BS,
yeah.
even though
The
they
guy
they
say, man,
not
I gave
getting
Job
from.
syphilis. I killed his. Yeah, God was like, yeah, I killed his family. Well, I let Satan do it because I told him to do it. So I let him do that. Killed all his worker, destroyed his land, all his oxen and all this other stuff. Took away his flat screen. I let Pookies and Ray Rays come in his house, steal all his flat screens, and just really messed him up. His girlfriend, his young girlfriend, left him. You know, but you still gotta believe in me though, because I do things for a reason, because I'm God, and sometimes I can't even think
Yeah,
about why I do that shit, but. I'm God though, so just take it at face value and we're good.
yeah, we don't know why it's done, but God knows. And it's sad that that's the best answer that Christians come up with when you ask them why this and why that, and they say, well, God got infinite knowledge and we don't know, but God knows, and all this and that. But that's not good enough for me, because if God's so powerful,
That's not good enough, especially for an
you know,
all-knowing God.
yeah, because that means
Yeah, especially
he
for a God that's supposed to be all-knowing.
he could have created a world with no suffering, because he got heaven. There's no
Yeah,
suffering in heaven. So obviously, you can conceive of a place where there's no suffering. Why not make this that place? If you like, and then Christians say, "Oh, well, you have to have a binary. If there's good, there's got to be bad. If there's light, there's got to be dark." Okay, well, he could have made a bad Earth. You know, he could have made a good universe and a bad
yeah,
universe, or a good Earth and a bad Earth, and we just never see this bad Earth. But he didn't do that. So what we got so far? We got Genesis, where Satan told the truth. He told the truth to Eve that she wouldn't die and that she would have the
hmm,
knowledge of good and evil. And he never told her to eat the fruit. He just said, if you eat it, then
yeah,
this is what's going to happen. And that's what happened. So he told the truth.
yeah,
He told the truth in Job. Basically, he really won that bet, even though like God tried to backtrack it after the fact. But Job did curse God though. You know what I'm saying? He said like, "Oh, you f me over," or some. I don't know the exact word, but he cursed his name. You know
hmm.
what I'm saying? That's what Satan said that he was going to do.
He
What
said,
else did
God, why thou hast
Satan do?
forsaken me? I think this was chapter 28 when he was bedridden and his young girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? And, we didn't know Joe was a pedophile too. You know what I'm saying? So Chris Hansen was like, "Sir, sit over there, sit over there." Chris Hansen.
Damn.
Yeah, so but yeah, man, so Job in chapter 28, his homeboys are like, you are being messed up. God is messing you up, dude. What did you do? Maybe you didn't pray hard enough. Maybe you didn't give him spiritual BJs. God loved them spiritual BJs. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta you gotta use that spiritual spit, you know what I'm saying, on
Damn.
the
I'm
so,
trying to
yeah.
see like, hold on, let me ask the AI, and maybe he'll know. What evil did the devil do in the Bible?
In the Bible, the devil, also known as Satan, is portrayed as a cunning and deceptive figure who tempts humanity to sin and opposes the will of God. He is often depicted as the leader of a group of rebellious angels who were cast out of heaven for their defiance against God. The devil is often associated with evil and is seen as the source of all temptation and sin. A According to the Bible, the devil's goal is to lead humans astray and prevent them from experiencing the love and grace of God.
Now that part right there, that's the part that don't make sense to me, right? Because they say
Mhm.
that Satan is supposed to lead people away from God, lead people astray. But if it wasn't for Satan, Jesus would have never even got crucified, which they say is God's big plan anyway. Because didn't Satan
Mhm.
uh, possess Judas Iscariot before he
Yeah,
betrayed Jesus?
yeah,
That's supposed to be
I
Satan
see
doing it.
where you're coming from. From a Christian perspective, the crucifixion of Jesus was a necessary part of God's plan for humanity's salvation. According to the Bible, Satan played a role in Jesus' crucifixion by tempting Judas Iscariot to betray Jesus. However, some interpretations of the Bible suggest that Satan was simply fulfilling God's plan and that God used Satan to accomplish his purpose.
That's my point. So
yeah.
is
But you
Satan
can't
evil or is he God's employee?
exactly. But see, Satan is a scapegoat.
Christian perspective,
Yeah.
Satan,
So
Satan
anything
is just the
messy, anything
scapegoat.
messy, they go. God's really orchestrating it, but he gonna tell Satan to go do it, so he ain't got to get his hands dirty.
Exactly. God is the mafia boss. God is the Mexican mafia, and he gonna send the Tongo Odi home to to do his work.
And Satan is the enforcer. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the enforcer. You know what I'm saying? So, just like in my job, you know what I'm saying? I got to do things because my boss tell me to, or I don't get paid. So God, I believe, man, when I look at the story, I'm connecting God and Satan as the same person. You know what I'm saying? I think they're the same person because when you look at,
I can see
I
that.
think it's, I think it's Isaiah chapter 12 verse 14 or 14 verse 12. It's one of those where it said, "Oh Lucifer, oh son of the morning," or something like that. Then you got Revelations 19:22. It said, "I am the root and offspring of David and the bright and morning star." So we got son of the morning, and then we got the bright and morning star. The sun is considered a star. So Jesus said he's a bright and morning star. Satan, Lucifer, is the son of the morning. You know what I'm saying? That rises up in the morning. So who are we talking about? Is Jesus, Satan, and God all one person? It's like God.
If
It's like God put. It's like God put on one costume. He's a bearded white man. You know what I'm saying, with all this power and stuff. And then soon as something, because it's like nobody has really showed a picture of God. Like when you look at these movies, where's God at? Only God figure I seen was Morgan Freeman.
oh, this he look like Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, he's like Morgan Freeman, I guess, with all the moles on his face.
That's probably one of the best depictions of God I ever seen on film though, because
Exactly.
otherwise, what can you do? Because the motherfucker don't exist. You can only make this shit up. So you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
if you're not going to use a person, what you gonna use? But you gonna do like South Park did, because South Park did got kind of dirty. You seen what they made God look like on South Park,
I haven't seen that one. I
bro?
know that. I know.
You got to check it out. You got to check it out. Matter of fact, I'm gonna see if I can find it while we talking, man. But
Okay.
yeah, Steve the Theorist said God should have gave Satan an aptitude test. I guess God is the EOE, equal opportunity employee.
Yeah, God is DEI, all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? He got the diversity, inclusion, and all that stuff. So, you know, and you know what? How is an all powerful being can't control nothing in this house? If you're all power, how do you lose 1/3 of your angels? But they didn't say
They
how
all
many
powerful.
angels though. They can say 1/3, so they didn't say it was like 20 million angels. They
And he
say he
needs
lost
money.
one. Yep.
He
I think
needs your
you
money.
know. What's his oh yeah, Dark Matter 2525. Now Dark Matter, he's an atheist, but he depicts Lucifer as a woman. So his thing was God and Satan was actually boyfriend and girlfriend. And Satan, was trying, God kicked Satan out, you know what I'm saying? Probably was cheating on him or something, I don't even think Satan probably was cheating on God. I think God was probably just an abusive asshole. And Satan just got tired. So the 1/3 of the angel probably was their kids. You know what I'm saying? Because why are these two the main characters? You got a protagonist and an antagonist, which also could be the antagonist as well. You know what I'm saying? So it just I just think that when you look at shit like that, it makes you wonder, like, is this a relationship? They meet on Tinder or
Mhm.
something,
God,
and
Satan.
with God and Satan met on Tinder and they just hooked up. So, or Grinder, you don't know. Might have been Grinder. I don't
But
know.
then they
God and Satan
say,
might have been.
yeah, kind of
Yeah, God and Satan met on Grinder, and
TXT.
So,
Why would it be a TXT file? All right. They say God sent Satan to the earth or whatever, right? Jesus said he
mm,
saw him come down like a bolt of lightning and all that stuff. And
mm,
the serpent they say is the Satan because I don't know why they say that, but that's what they say. So let's say if the serpent was Satan, then he told the truth in the book of Genesis. He told the truth. And then when Jesus is crucified, right,
mm-hmm.
he gets sent to heaven after that to be basically the right hand man to God. And ain't that what Satan wanted the whole time?
Yeah, pretty
So
much.
Jesus got sent to earth. Satan
So,
wanted to be right next to God. Now Jesus is right next to God. Now if you believe this stuff, I ain't never seen no Satan running around earth or Jesus. You know what I'm saying?
oh,
So
he's a
like
spirit.
if I wanted to take this as I could make the case that Jesus is Satan and they both in heaven with God, you know what I'm
Hmm.
saying, as the right hand, because that's Satan earned it. He been doing God's will all through the Bible. Anything God
Yep.
asked him to do, he do it.
But you
Just
know what?
like an angel.
Yep. But you know what? God needs God is no the reason why the forbidden fruit was even created, because God needs sin in order for his creations to work. Because he knew if there was no death or suffering, and people would just procreate, and it'd be millions and millions, billions of people on the earth. It'd be another layer of the earth, just filled with humans. So God needed that forbidden fruit to. That's why I'm like, why the hell would you put it there? Why the hell would you put it in the right in the middle? And you had and that tree probably smelled like freshly baked cookies, and they was like, this is tempting. You know what I'm saying,
The book
put the tree
says
of life
it was
there, but
good
say,
for
hey,
food and pleasing to the eye. That's what it
yeah,
said. It said Eve looked at it, saw that it was pleasing to the eye and good for food. So if you got any sense, you're gonna say, okay, if it's so off limits, we're not supposed to have it. Why does it look pleasing and it's good for food? And it said like three times
mhm,
in the book. You said she thought that it was good. It was good. It was good. And I'm like,
yeah,
okay, if it's so good, and it's the Garden of Eden, everything in it is good. You got the tree of knowledge of good and evil. It's knowledge of good and evil. Like, I mean, wouldn't you want your kids to know the difference between good and evil? Why would God not want us to know the difference between good and evil? And then here's the shit that tripped me out though. The first thing they
mhm,
did after they ate from the tree was cover up, as if to imply that there's something wrong with being naked,
yeah. I'm like, who else is
right?
on the planet with them watching
Why
them?
is that?
Like,
Why is that seen as a sin? Like, this is the guy from South
oh
Park
yeah,
though. This
yeah,
is
yeah,
how
yeah, yeah.
the South Park people make it.
Well, actually, that's
So,
an accurate
but who's to say
depiction,
God don't look
because
like
exactly. So when you actually look up the Canaanite god, he actually looks like that a little bit. Because I remember brother the god killer, what was his name,
that?
brother yeah, he depicted God as that. He was a yeah, yeah, that's when you look
Now,
at the Canaanite deity. Go ahead.
when I saw this episode, right, I was still a believer, and I was so mad that they had did this to God. I was like, how the fuck they gonna do that on South Park? Man, they made God look like that. Man, I was pissed off. I was like, man, I ain't watching South Park no more. But I
But
did,
now,
I
hey,
did,
but
because
now
it
you
was one
woke.
of my favorite shows. It's one of my
But
favorite shows. Now this shit's so funny to me, though. I'd be like, look at God, because I know this
yep,
shit ain't real, right? And obviously, the people who made South Park know it's not real too, because they make fun of every religion.
yeah, exactly. But Christianity is the only religion that I know of, that we know of. You know what I'm saying? Well,
Hmm.
you're a little bit more educated to me in that aspect. But the ones that I research, they do not have a evil character. Like, not even in the Muslim
Well,
faith. Who was that? Who was the adversary to Muhammad? Who was
I
the
don't know.
adversary to Krishna, Vishnu? Who's the adversary to? Well, in Kemet, there's the adversary is Set. He's the only evil one. So I think that's why I said it's mixture of Greek and Egyptian mythology. You know what I'm saying? Because the adversary to the Greek mythology, Helios, Kronos is. Wait a minute. So you got Kronos, which is the father of Zeus. Zeus, and you got Kronos, Zeus. Who are the top gods? Jupiter. Well, that's Roman. But like I said, a lot of them don't even have adversaries like that. You know what I'm saying? Christianity is the only one that is a monotheistic God. Monotheistic if you got Jesus, God, and Satan, because Satan will be considered a God too, right? If he's all powerful too. So
It's the
Christianity is the only one that
cognitive
basically
dissonance.
drives the fear. Yes, cognitive
A
dissonance, man, and
monotheistic religion, a
this is
monotheistic
why it's
religion
so
with three
popular.
gods. But hey,
Yeah, exactly.
uh, Christianity got the concept of the devil from Zoroastrianism, because the Persians,
Yeah.
their religion was Zoroastrianism, and they had Ahura Mazda versus Amira or something like that, Kira or something like that,
Mhm.
and one was good, one was evil. Basically, God and the devil. That was a Zoroastrian concept. You know what I'm saying? But what happened was Cyrus the Great conquered Babylon, who had already conquered Judah. So basically, when Cyrus the Great conquered Babylon, he was conquering Judah too. But Judah was enslaved by Babylon at the time. And when Cyrus the Great conquered them,
Mhm.
he freed the Jews. And they was basically kind of like how Native Americans and Europeans are in America. They just in the same land, but they're not the same people. And then they started mixing together. And it was about 200 years. Some of their
Mhm.
Persian beliefs started showing up in the Jewish scriptures, like the adversary to God. You know what I'm saying? Before that, there was no mention of the devil. That's why if you read the Bible, you don't see the devil to a certain point. And the Book of Genesis don't mention the devil; it mentions the serpent. That's an ad hoc rationalization when they say the serpent was Satan. You know what I'm saying? At the time it was written,
Because when you look
these
at
concepts.
when the Book of Genesis was first written in the 6th century, um, it didn't mention a serpent. It didn't mention none of that. Not even in the Codex Sinaiticus, it doesn't talk about a serpent or even an adversary. You know what I'm saying? In the Book of Genesis, it talks about the full creation, but this is what they slipped up and did. They basically talk about nut in the Codex and in the Sahedra in the Book of Genesis. They had to, but see, once when King James got a hold of it, they had to take that out because it's too close to African spirituality. So they wanted to make it like European because nut and noon is in the old text. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people don't know that, and I think I learned that from one of your videos. No, it was from Merkaba. Merkaba was talking about even in the Codex Sinaiticus, noon is in the Codex Sinaiticus. You know what I'm saying? And what was the water god? Poseidon and all that stuff. The waters of Poseidon, the creation story, all that stuff is all jumbled up. You know what I'm saying? So there was really no adversary, but the Catholic Church, like I said earlier, they knew how to get people to believe. Like the whole COVID thing, they tried to scare the hell out of you so you could take that shot. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
they knew what they were doing. So that's why they read Dante's Inferno. Satan wasn't added to the Bible until the 3rd century. Because if you look at when you look at when the Bible, when they was first trying to put the canons of the Bible together, none of that talked about. It talked about Set. Now, when you look at Set, now I know people gonna say, "Oh, I'm reaching," but you got Set, and then you got Satan. You know what I'm saying? Satan. So they just used a lot of that because what did Satan do? What did Set do? He killed his brother. He was jealous of his brother Osiris or Asar, as we know him as Osar, and cut him into 14 pieces, and scattered over the river Nile, and all this other stuff. Crucifixion. Same thing, man. It's just and Set was red. He was a red. He was red. He's like a kangaroo. He was a kangaroo looking dude. But like I said, a lot of this was extrapolated from African spirituality. It was a lot of it extrapolated from Kemet. You know what I'm saying? But Dante's Inferno when they talked about Satan or whatever, it was scary as hell. Now I ain't gonna lie, you can tell that to a ghost story, And I think a lot of the book of Revelations came from the Dante's Inferno as well.
Had to.
Because God in Revelation chapter 12, I think you did a video where in chapter 12 where he was wrestling sea monsters, Hydra, and all that stuff. So this is Greek mythology,
Revelation
man.
is so crazy, man. But they say, oh, that's supposed to be a bunch of metaphors and all that stuff. Man, it sounds like fear marketing.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Storm
what it is.
chasing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Satan is a marketing strategy for Christianity. That's all Satan is. Satan is a marketing strategy for Christianity, and it worked.
Because you can't read the Bible and come to the conclusion that he's the ultimate evil of the world. Because it
Yeah.
just don't mesh. You know what I'm saying? He only did 8 things in the Bible. If you're watching this, Satan, the devil, character, that full disclosure,
Mm-hmm.
full transparency. I don't believe in. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in the devil. But in the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
Satan only does 8 things. 8 things. He's mentioned a bunch of times, but he only shows up 8
Yeah.
times in the Bible. And only 2 of those times it can even be argued that he's doing something evil. That's when in Revelations, when he leads the rebellion or whatever, and in heaven when he leads the rebellion. That's it.
Yeah.
Now, if it be the case, hypothetically speaking, if God was effing up and he was actually in the wrong and Satan rebelled, would that be evil?
Hmm. That even got me thinking like, damn, like for real? Damn.
If that be the case, I'm just asking hypothetically, if God, because he did lie in Genesis, he told Eve
Yeah,
that she was
God
gonna
lied.
die.
Yeah.
God lied in Genesis, and he
Yep.
gambled in the book of Job. He gambles, so
Yep.
he's a
With a
lying,
man's life.
gambling, jealous God. He orders all these murders. They'll go kill the Midianites. Uh,
Mm,
we gonna kill a whole bunch of firstborn. I'm not even sure like exactly what was going on with the firstborn thing, but I know God was the one in control of who to pass over, right? So he
hmm.
selected and choose. Okay, don't kill them. Don't kill them. Don't kill. Right?
Yeah,
It
yeah. He
sounds like
said put
oh,
some blood over their door. So, cause I don't know, God might have been drinking or something. You know what I'm saying? When he, said, "Oh yeah, 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 go put blood on the door so they won't get killed. So I won't forget." So I don't know. God must have came from Twin Peaks or something. He probably had like 4, 5 Long Island iced teas and just decided to kill everybody. So yeah, God needs to stay away from alcohol, man. Yeah,
he
cause
wanted he didn't
how you
have the
all
all knowing that day.
yeah, I was like, how you all knowing God and you need somebody to put some blood over somebody's door so they won't get killed. So you sent the spirit of death to kill everybody that didn't have blood on their door. Like, shouldn't you know that? Like, I don't know, man. He ain't got that good kush. You know what I'm saying? He must be on that Reggie. He must
He
be on
had to
that
be
Reggie
smoking
that
something
night.
to forget. To be all knowing and forget something, you got to be smoking something. And then like my whole thing is like check this out, right? They say the flood story.
Mhm.
It's off topic a little bit, but they say the flood story was
Yeah.
because humanity was all sinful and stuff, right? And it was just one righteous man named Noah. So him and his family was the only people that were saved or whatever. But
Mhm.
why we still need Jesus to wash our sins away today if the flood already happened and all those people that had original sin was supposedly washed away with the flood. So God did all that killing, flooded the earth, and didn't even get rid of original sin.
What
And
was
he's
the
all knowing.
population? Was it 2.5 million? Satan only killed 15
I don't know.
people. Well, yeah, according to the Bible count, it was like 2.5 million people. And Satan only killed 15. But
They
that's
ain't all
because, like you said, God told him to. Because God
the ain't
said
all
you
the
you
animals.
can do anything else you want to his family and his people, but don't hurt him. God said don't hurt him. So God like, yeah, go on and kill the mugs, man. I don't care about them. But don't hurt my boy though, because I'm gonna prove to you something that I already knew ahead of time. 'Cause I knew you was coming to my
So you
office
can't
today.
make. So you
Yeah.
telling me God gonna make a stance? He gonna draw a
Yeah.
line in the sand and say, yeah, you can touch all this property, you can mess everything up, but don't touch the man. And then Satan come back later and basically persuade God, convince God, change his mind, say, man, let me touch him, man, let me touch him. And God say,
Let me do a little
okay,
something to him. Yeah, and God was like,
But you
yeah,
supposed to be
Satan
all
said, yeah,
knowing.
man, I got this new stuff called syphilis, man. So I'm gonna go in and inject him with syphilis, and he gonna have bumps and sores all over his body. He gonna be bedridden, and his girlfriend gonna leave him. I guarantee, if you let me do that, God, he gonna leave. God, like, all right, go ahead, Jada, go on and give it to him, man. But God said, let me test this shit out first, make sure it's not, lethal or nothing like that. Like, all right. So God took it to the lab. He took it to lab cool. He drove downtown, got the results back. Said, yep, this is pure syphilis. Yep, go ahead, say you're gonna give it to him. So I don't know, man.
Skin for skin, dog.
Yeah,
Skin for skin.
yeah, man.
But so what else? Hold on, let me see what else I got. Oh yeah. So I think that's it, man. Satan don't do much in the Bible, and the stuff that
Yeah,
he do ain't really that bad. So he damn sure don't do nothing near as bad as what God do in the Bible.
yeah, yeah. When
So
God get high and drunk, God is God is flooding earths. He's killing babies. All the firstborn. He said specifically the firstborn sons of Egypt. God is causing a man to win a battle so he can kill his daughter. You know what I'm saying? Unalive. Sorry, I know you got to bleep that out. So God, this God, man, done ordered a lot of hits, man. He's unaliving people for looking into the Ark of the Covenant just for taking a look. Hey, let me see what's in there. God don't even give you a warning. He just strikes, man. He just like, but you gotta catch God when he ain't drunk and high and shit. So yeah, man, we
yeah,
can
man.
we can count about all the atrocities that God did was on him. But guess what? Christians will defend him like an abusive wife. You know how some abusive wives and girlfriends defend their boyfriends? That's how Christians are. They have the abusive wife syndrome. Well, God
Mhm.
did this for his own purpose. But what's the purpose of like my daughter was molested, right? By she was essayed by a preacher. So I was still a believer shortly after. I was still a believer, even after that happened. But my mom said, well, God did that because so she can give a testimony. I said, so you mean to tell me that's what turned me off right there from religion. I said, Mom, you mean to tell me this God allowed this preacher to essay my daughter, my 4-year-old daughter at the time, just so she can have a testimony? I said, yeah, I can't follow this guy. I ain't talked to my mom for 2 years, man, after that. I ain't talked to my mom for 2 years. So it's because she thought it was okay. Like I'm like, you're excusing, like, even if Satan did have something to do with this, God still let it happen. And God supposedly used a man of the cloth, one of his people, to do it. So how is that
And it's not a
even
woman
cool? How can Christians even say that's okay because God did it? Like, how is that
because in
okay
their
for
mind
anybody,
they,
any
they, they,
woman,
they
man,
have to
God?
they have to believe it's okay because if they tell the truth, right, and they say yeah, God allowed
Mhm.
that, in their mind that's blasphemy, and they don't want to go to
Yeah,
hell, so they have to do a whole bunch of mental gymnastics and twist their brain into a pretzel shape to make it make sense to them, even if it don't make sense.
that
That's what
don't
they
make
do.
sense,
You've
man.
seen it a lot of times,
So
man.
this
You've seen it a lot of
God, it's like so in my mind, I'm like God told Satan to possess a pastor to go essay a 4-year-old. You see how that snowball effect? Like, why? Like, why would you do that to anybody, any woman, child, even boys? You know what I'm saying? They do get, like, they say that God did this for a purpose so you can help other people. But God said He don't want any drama,
okay.
on the earth. But you causing a lot of drama. That's just like how some women say they don't want drama, but them be the main ones that causes the drama.
You know what
It's,
I'm saying?
it's
Then they
sad to
say,
me. I,
"Oh,
I don't get it.
well, God not gonna interfere with somebody's free will, but He interfered with free will in the Bible. Then He hardened Pharaoh's heart.
Oh yeah, yeah. So he
That's
wouldn't
what it
let so he
said.
wouldn't let the people go. I bet Pharaoh was
So
like, I
he
want
ain't got
to,
no
but I
problem.
can't.
He ain't got no problem interfering with free
Pharaoh was like,
will
I
at
want to
all.
let you go.
But the thing,
Yep.
the thing that tripped
So
me out, boy,
God,
I was reading Luke, right, and
uh,
it's something that I say all the time to Christians as a joke. I didn't even know it was in the Bible. I just be saying it as a joke. I be like, if Jesus is the Savior, why he couldn't save himself? I'm reading Luke. They say that shit in Luke. I didn't even know that. They was like, if you the
Yeah,
son of God, save yourself, save yourself. Like they were chastising him while he was on the cross. Like save yourself, save yourself. He didn't.
yeah,
He didn't do it. Either he couldn't or he wouldn't. Now Christians gonna
yep,
say he wouldn't because it's all God's plan. But if you say it's all God's plan, then you better say thank you to the devil because if it wasn't for Satan going into Judas Iscariot, Jesus would have never fulfilled his destiny. You know what I'm saying?
exactly.
Because ain't that how they knew that was Jesus? Because Judas went and kissed him or whatever, which is a
Kissed
pause
him,
moment. You know, it's a pause moment.
oh,
But Judas went over there and kissed him, and then he was like, "Oh, you gonna betray me with a kiss, dog? Like, for real, that's how you kicking it?" And then they came and got him and crucified him and put him on the cross. And then Pontius Pilate, they make it seem like he evil too. But guess what? When you read the Bible, Pontius Pilate didn't want to kill Jesus. He said
yeah,
he ain't done nothing wrong. I don't got no reason to kill him. But the other people around was like, no, kill him, kill him, kill him. You know what I'm saying? And then Pontius was like, all
yeah. Because
right, that's what
he
y'all
was
want.
flipping the tables and yeah, he was flipping over the tables and
But
stuff. You know.
Pontius wasn't the bad guy in that situation.
Mm.
It was
It was the
the
people.
people were up under Pilate.
Yep. Somebody he was being disruptive in the temples and flipping tables and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They said he been man, you know he from Galilee. Man, they are like gang members, bro. They are like
Oh
gang. Let me
yeah.
tell you a story, dog. Let me tell you a story, dog. Oh, I was probably 13, 14 years old. This when I realized I wasn't a thug. This when I realized I
Yeah.
wasn't a thug. When I was a kid, I thought I was a thug, right? Because all my
Yeah.
family members were thugs. You know what I'm saying? All my friends were thugs. I thought I was a
Yeah.
thug
I'm from
too.
Fort Worth, so
This was
I grew up in the gang culture in
before
Fort Worth, Texas. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man.
this was
Shoot.
this
Yeah,
when
they
I
were
found
like,
out I wasn't a thug, dog.
mm. Now go ahead.
I said, well, for difficulty. All right, it looked like we got the connection back up. Can you hear me?
Yeah, y'all can hear. Yeah, that's why it's a delay because I'm thinking that you're finished, but it's kind of like you pause. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So this one I found out I wasn't a thug, bro. I was probably 13, 14 years old. I'm outside. I had a basketball goal in front of my house, so I'm by myself practicing because I used to hoop or whatever. So I'm out there practicing, dribbling and shooting and shit.
Yeah.
Some older kids that I knew from the neighborhood drove up in the car like on Boys in the Hood. You know, they like four of them in a little tiny red car. They
Yeah.
pulled
Yeah.
up on me.
Yeah.
They was like,
Trey.
"Hey,
Yeah.
hey, really, come on, man, get in, get in." I'm like, "Where we going?" I was like, "Hey, man, we finna go ride on the food, man. We finna go do that." And I'm like, "Do what?" Man, we finna go unalive these boys, right? So I'm like, "Who?" Like, man, them dudes from Gresham. So me being the person that I am, I said, "Why? Why are we gonna do that, man? Cause they from Gresham." I'm like, "Okay."
Dang.
Like, we don't, we beefing with them from. I'm like, "Okay, but you got to give me a better reason. If I'm gonna go do that, I got to at least be mad. I'm not mad because they from there and we from here. Y'all on that." That's when I realized I ain't on
Yeah.
that. You know what I'm saying? And they was like, "Man, like, this street shit ain't for you, man. Just go, you stay in home, man. Keep shooting hoops, man. This street shit ain't for you." I agree.
Yep. Yep.
I
Hey,
agree.
hey. But the thing with me growing up in the gang, I was a blood and stop six in Fort Worth. Yeah, man, you had to ride. It was no choice back in them days, man. See, I got jumped in when I was like 12. You know what I'm saying? In '96, I got jumped into the gang, and I wasn't really a thug. I was just trying to be cool because I played football and I was a big guy, so I could fight. You know what I'm saying? I knew how to. You know what I'm saying? We would go into other neighborhoods and we would fight. So, but what really made me realize I wasn't a thug is when I went into the military. That changed me. Man, I was like, nah, I ain't the guard I thought I would. So yeah, man. So even Pontius, like you said, Pontius was like, man, I ain't on that shit. Let that man be from Galilee. Let
Yeah,
the
that's what they
GDs be
that's
from
what they was saying
Galilee.
though. He was like, "Man, I ain't gonna kill him because he ain't done nothing wrong. I don't see no reason to crucify him. We gonna crucify these other two dudes because we got crimes against them that they did. But him, we gonna let him. He said we gonna criticize him. We gonna chastise him. Then we gonna let him go. He said it twice.
Yeah.
He said, "Man, I'm gonna chastise him. I'm gonna let him go." They begged him. They was like, "No, crucify him, man." He said, "Why? Man, he's from Galilee. We don't mess with them Galilean." And then Herod was
No
there.
reason at
Herod
all.
was and Herod was like, I want to see the dude from Galilee. They say he's doing all these miracles and stuff. And Herod was interrogating him. You from Galilee? You from Galilee? Jesus ain't say nothing. Stone faced.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And he was like, all right, man, get my, he ain't talking to me. So they was like, man, unalive him, unalive him. Pontius was like, I mean, I don't see no reason to unalive him. I think I'm just gonna let him go. And they was like, no, unalive him, unalive him. And then so Jesus was like, saying something to the people as they carried him down. Like you seen the Book of Clarence on Netflix. It was the same story. Like he's like, man, y'all don't worry about me because I'm good. My spirit gonna be good. Y'all worry about y'all. You know what I'm saying? And then they like, forgive them, Lord, for they know what they do. He got the two thieves next to him. One of them like, man, you the son of God, then save us. Like you got all these powers, man, use them. Save
Yeah,
us.
man.
Which is logical. And then the other one was like, man, he really the son of God, man. Hey, Jesus, remember I had your back when we go to your kingdom of heaven. Remember me, dog. I had your back. And Jesus was like, yeah, I got you.
Nah, I
I
remember you,
got
dog,
you.
man. But I'm kind of yeah,
I got a seat for you.
yeah. That's it. He's like, yeah,
But
yeah. You
he
turning
did
water
a
to
thing that
wine,
don't
nigga.
make no sense, though. The thing
Yeah,
that don't
somebody
make no
turning
sense
water
is,
to wine.
right?
Like, man, Jesus, you can turn water into wine, bro. That means you can disappear off the damn cross. Get us off the cross too, homie. You know what I'm saying? But Jesus like, no, this is a
Hey,
part of the
you know,
great plan.
that's what I would say. I would be like, hey man, if it's your plan, dog, it ain't my plan. Save me. You can go ahead and save me. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
repent, whatever I gotta do, but I don't want to go out like this. But no, Jesus was like, nah, we all going out together, bro. But Jesus
Oh man,
is
just
messed up
nails
because Jesus
dug through
came
your
back.
hand though. Woo.
Jesus came back. So if Jesus was God, then he knew he was gonna come back. So he just let them other two dudes get killed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, I got you. You just gonna die. And then he had to die on a Friday because they said right after he passed, the Sabbath came, right? And the Sabbath is supposedly on Saturday. So even if you think it's on Sunday, he had to pass on Friday or Saturday. And then they say he rose on Sunday because that's when we celebrate Easter, right? Easter Sunday. So if he died on Friday and he rose on Sunday, where they get the 3 days from? Cause let's count them, folks.
That was
Let's
2 days.
Friday,
That's 2 days.
Friday night, right? You got Friday night. Let's say
Cause
even if it's like
I
noon
think
on Friday,
yeah,
noon on Friday, and then to noon on Saturday.
your
That's
internet
24
is
hours. That's
messing up.
one
It's,
day.
it's messing up a little bit more.
Okay, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're
Is it
sounding
clear? Is it
robotic.
clear?
Y'all can hear you
Dang.
now. Yeah, it's robot. It's still robotic. Yeah, it's still
All
robotic.
right. I'm not getting the I ain't getting no signals
Yeah,
in there,
cause
so I'm just gonna go through. Hopefully it'll fix. But you got
mm,
let's say he got crucified at noon on Friday. And then you got noon
mm,
Friday to noon Saturday. That's 24 hours. That's one day. And then you got noon Saturday to noon Sunday. That's another 24 hours. So that's 48 hours. So where did they get the 3 days from? Even if it goes to midnight on Sunday, 11:59 p.m., the best you could get is 36 hours. I mean, 56 hours.
so that means you
So
rose up on Monday.
if it was three
So
days,
wait a minute. So you talking about Thursday? So you talking about Thursday going into Friday, 12 midnight Thursday? That's the only way y'all gonna
no,
get
he
three
had to.
days if he was killed on a
Yeah, the
Thursday.
only way.
Yeah,
Either he rose
that's
on Monday, or he passed on Thursday. That's the only way you can
yeah.
slice it. But you know he didn't pass on Thursday because they said right after he passed, the Sabbath came, right? Because they had to put the
Mm,
spices and stuff in the tomb, and then they had to stop because the Sabbath they couldn't work on the Sabbath. That's what it say. So it had to be Friday, and then we
mm.
don't celebrate Easter Monday. We celebrate Easter Sunday, and it's supposed
Have
to
you
be the
ever noticed?
resurrection holiday. So that's 2 days. So where they get this 3 days stuff from?
Yeah, like Jonah in the well. See, a lot of these, even the Bible stories copy themselves. Like Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the well. Jesus was 3 days and 3 nights in the tomb. The Bible even copies its own copy itself. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know where they get the 3 days from. But this is the funny part about it. Tell me why almost every other year the death and resurrection is on a different day. That's like, man, like I'm like, wait a minute, I thought he died on the 8th. Now he died on the third. Like one year they had it on the 31st of March. Easter was on the
But you know
31st of
why?
March. I'm like, wait a minute. It's a
You
solstice,
know why
man.
though?
It has something to do with
So
it's really it's
the spring equinox. It ain't got nothing to do with no
Yeah.
Jesus. It's about the Son,
Yep.
not the S-O-N,
Yep.
the S-U-N.
Yeah.
That's all it's about.
Yeah.
That's why
So it depends.
Christmas
Like
is when it is, because the Son.
December 21st. It don't matter what day it's on. December 21st is supposed to be Jesus' birthday. But the day the nigga died, I mean, excuse me, the day he died was on the 8th. So it's supposed to be the 8th, 9th, and the 10th. So they're changing his death date around so much it confused. I'm like, man, I'm like, wait, but I thought he died on the 8th. Now they got him dying on the 15th.
Yeah. But
Like,
the
how does
truth
this
is,
happen?
though, the truth is, these days have been celebrated for thousands of years, bro. December
Yeah,
25th and the spring
it
equinox, the
never
first
changed.
Sunday of what is it, April? Uh,
Yeah,
they always celebrated those days because they were sun worship, but these days was always sacred to humans. They celebrated these
yeah.
days. What happened was Christians came and hijacked it and said, "Oh, we're gonna take this holiday that y'all been celebrating. We're gonna call it Jesus' birthday, and we're gonna take this other holiday that y'all been celebrating. And we're gonna call it Easter." But they
Mm-hmm.
was already being celebrated, though. You know what I'm saying? That's like if you say you having a birthday party, right? You schedule it, you send out invitations, everybody coming, and then after the party is over, I tell everybody it was my anniversary dinner. You know what I'm saying? That's what Christians did. They just hijacked somebody else's movement and called it theirs because it was
Yeah,
popular already.
yeah. It's
Which is
popularized all
just
over the world, but yeah. So Easter is basically Esther. So yeah,
for
man.
sure.
But yeah, man. Like I said, man. Back to the whole Satan committing evil in the Bible, man. It's like the only two things that really pop out that Christians really talk about is the forbidden fruit and the Book of Job, and number three, I think, is the when he led the army of God. So when you actually read the Bible, it's like they're talking in past tense though. Like this stuff done already happened.
Hmm.
But see, Christians will say
Hmm.
it's gonna happen. Like this book is not a fortune telling book. They done already
They
talked
think it
about this
is,
stuff.
though.
Like yeah,
They think it
they
is.
think it's here.
But we done already said the Garden of Eden. Satan didn't do
Mm,
nothing wrong in the Garden of Eden. If you interpret it as the serpent being Satan, the serpent told the truth.
yeah,
All right, so that's not evil. He had them take a census of Israel. I don't see what's so wrong about that. I don't see how that's so evil. He made them take and count all these people. Oh, how dare you say? But
mm,
that's all he did. He told them to count some people. And what does he do? Let me see. Hold on. I got a list. He told the truth. Their eyes was open. Oh yeah, he tested Job's faith with God's permission though. So he don't
yep,
just act independently or maliciously. He asked God, hey man, I bet you I can get that dude to curse your name if he only praised you so much because you got this hedge around. You remove
yep.
that hedge, I bet you he'll stop praising you so much. And he was right about that too. So he
Because Job did
he
curse
accused
him
the
right
high
in
priest,
chapter 39.
Zach, in
Yep.
Zechariah, he accused the high priest, right? So
Mm.
is that evil or is that like he basically God's uh district attorney?
Fail
You
safe.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
He the
yeah,
DA,
yeah.
he the prosecutor,
Yeah.
he the prosecutor.
Exactly. I
So
like that. I like
then
it. That's funny.
then
That's
he
funny.
offers
District
he offers
attorney.
Jesus all the land. Yeah, he the DA,
Yeah.
bro. He offered
Yeah.
Jesus all the land. So how you tell me how you gonna offer somebody something that you don't own? So basically, the Bible is
How is that
implying that
how is that
Satan
evil though?
owns
Like Christians would say that's
this land.
evil. You're not supposed to tempt nobody. So they're using somebody tempting you like land and stuff. They're trying to compare it with like temptation. Like temptation is a bad thing. No, temptation actually can be a good thing. You know what I'm saying? So, but
Hmm.
you know how Christians are, man. They everything Christians have this tired of living but scared to die mentality when it comes to Christianity. And
I'm gonna live
they're
forever. I'm
tired
gonna
of
live
living but
forever in
scared to die.
happiness and bliss, but I'm so scared to die though.
Yeah. Exactly, but they always talking about going home to their savior. But shit, as soon as they feel chest pain, 911.
Mhm. And
Yep.
then here's the big kicker though. Here's the big kicker that proves that Satan is not the ultimate evil on the world. But if you believe this BS Bible,
Mm-hmm.
Satan is not the ultimate evil of the world. God is. He even says it. I,
Yeah,
the Lord
Isaiah.
God, do good, evil. I do all these things.
Things.
He says it in the
Isaiah,
Bible. So if
Isaiah,
you believe,
what is it, Isaiah 45? Isaiah 45, verse 6 and 7. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and I create evil. I create evil. I, the Lord thy God, do all these things. God said he was all this. But Christian, yeah. You show them that
I
vice,
want
you show them that verse, they're done. I mean, they're like, they still gonna ignore it. They say, well, he don't mean it that way. Well, how do you create evil? Like, evil is evil when it comes down to Satan, but evil is not evil when it comes to God.
and I cease to be amazed by the answers I get from Christians when we bring this stuff to their attention and they try to make it make sense. I cease to be amazed. Like the stuff they say to this day, we've been doing this for years.
Yep.
They still amaze me, dog. I be like, how? How you come up with this shit? You know what I'm saying? Like it don't make
I
no
don't
sense.
know,
So
man.
we named two things that the devil did that we could perceive as evil. Probably wasn't evil. It's a way you can interpret it to say it's not evil. But two things, just for the sake of argument, I'm gonna give them to y'all. Two out of 8 things that the Satan did in this Bible was evil, and that's the leading the war in heaven and the rebellion in Revelations. But I argue that that's nullified by the fact that he was instrumental in Jesus' sacrifice. Without Satan,
Yep.
no Judas betrayal, no crucifixion, no salvation. So all y'all Christians out there, why y'all not thanking Satan for playing his part? And I'm not telling you go
Exactly.
worship the devil and no bullshit like that. And he worshiping Satan. That ain't what I said. I said, why
Yeah.
you not thanking him for playing his part in your salvation? This came from your
Because
book. I didn't write this crap. You know what I'm saying? That's what
yeah.
I just read it. That's what it says.
Yep.
It says Satan entered Judas before the betrayal. Judas betrayed him. If that didn't happen, he wouldn't have got
Pause.
crucified. If he didn't get crucified,
Pause.
you would because he did it
You
with a
said
kiss.
Satan entered Judas.
He
All right,
said, "Damn, bro,
they on some Diddy
you
stuff.
gonna betray me with a kiss, bro? Damn, dog.
Yeah, they on some Diddy
Like
stuff.
that.
Diddy was at the cruise. Diddy was at the Last Supper too.
Oh, he had to be.
Yep.
He had to be.
So, but yeah, like I said, man, Christians, if you're watching this show, which I'm pretty sure y'all are, I'm pretty sure y'all are watching Quayle Kush. I'm pretty sure even if you atheists that are watching this show, I hope you got your family here because we're trying to keep it as PG as possible. Um, we're just trying to educate y'all. We're not trying to tell y'all what to believe or how to believe, but we just want y'all to think. This is a show that's thought provoking. This is why I joined him. You know what I'm saying? What was that? 2017? Yeah, when I joined you, man, because it made me think. Because I was still straddling the fence. But man, studying under, listening to you, man, and following your channel, man, I just say, you know what? I ain't scared of you. Cause my mama said, well, I'm gonna keep your insurance paid since you stop believing in God. So God gonna kill me for not being his friend? Like, what kind of God is that? He gonna kill me for not wanting to be his friend no more?
Come on. I mean, if that's the God you believe in, come on. I made that decision when I was so young, dog. I said,
Yeah,
is God gonna really send me to hell for using my brain and
that he
actually
created.
being honest with myself and saying, I don't get this shit. It don't make sense to me. And at first, I thought it was just me. You know what I'm saying? I was like, okay, I'm not smart enough to understand this. Let me dive
Right.
deeper. Let me go deep. And then trying to understand it is what made me not believe it because now I do understand it. And I go, oh, that's why I didn't get it because it don't make no fucking sense.
It don't. Well, it
That's
don't make sense.
why
What
I
was Satan
don't
at when the
understand.
flood happened though? Why is Satan not mentioned in the flood story though? I think Satan was mentioned like just once in Genesis. He wasn't even mentioned
Because
in
he didn't
Exodus. He
exist.
wasn't mentioned. Yeah,
The real answer to that question is because when these books was written, the concept of Satan was a
didn't exist.
non-thing. Didn't
Yeah,
exist. They didn't have no concept of Satan. They hadn't met the Persians yet.
yeah.
So when they wrote these books,
The
they hadn't
Sanhedrins.
been introduced to these concepts yet. So now, if this was true, like if God existed and Satan existed and all this stuff, wouldn't it all be there from the beginning? the all-knowing God that created the universe inspired this book. When they all have all this stuff in there from the beginning, he said there's a God,
Yep.
there's a devil, and all this crap. But the devil don't show up until 1,000 years into the history of Judaism. How is that?
Yep. Like,
Oh, it just happened that it happened at the same time that they was being conquered by the Persians, who had these concepts of good versus evil. Shout out to Omega Dread, man. Appreciate the super chat, brother. Appreciate the super chat. And y'all can hit that cash app too, man, because you know YouTube gonna take 50% or whatever you super chat. So if you want to support your boy, hit my cash app, hit $ hit me muscle. What's your cash app, bro?
Hemi Muscle 392.
All right, so I'm
Thank
at
y'all for y'all
$
donations, man. We're gonna try to thank y'all for y'all
Yeah,
donation. Also, like I said, man,
$.
we're gonna start back the Bible comedy. We're gonna start back up Bible comedy starting next week. And I'm also gonna do read the chick tracks, the Jack chick tracks too, as well. So be on the lookout for that, man. We coming back and we're coming back full force. You know what I'm saying? This is we're back on episode 1. So yeah, man. So dude, this is my thing. Like I tell female Christians that I, try to like, I say, well, what if the serpent, what if it was a cat that got that told Eve that they wouldn't die? Would y'all still have a cat in y'all house? What if it was a dog or something, in the tree? Why did it have to be a snake? Because they know everybody's scared of snakes. It's all a fear thing, man. So
I
snakes.
know why it
So
was a
the
snake.
talking snake, yeah. But what if it was said the cat was more cunning than of the beasts of all the field? You know what I'm saying? But it had to be a snake. So
It's a snake
yeah,
because serpent was seen as a deity to ancient people. Like they used to
yeah,
have a serpent god like Serapis and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Gods with the
On
snake
on
head.
their thing like that, yeah.
So to say the serpent was actually like a god figure. So naturally, when these people trying to get you to follow their religion and abandon yours, they gonna turn your god figure into a evil figure. So
Mhm.
they say, oh, the serpent is evil now, the evil one. You know, it's what they call him. But this is just what they call it, gaslight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
that's all it is.
Jesus refers to Satan as the evil one. And I'm reading the Bible trying to find the evil. I'm like, what would he do? That's so evil. Why
Yeah,
do they keep calling him evil?
he ain't
The guy he
unalive
did
nobody. He only
he
unalive
did
somebody.
nothing.
Yeah.
He did nothing.
But that's because God told him to do it. See, this God didn't give him specific reasons. Not reasons, but this God didn't give him rules on what to do with Job's family. Like he could have had his wife and kids just leave him. You know what I'm saying? But no, God said, no, you're gonna do what you want, but just don't hurt him. So Satan like, you show God I can. So God, so he probably was in the office, after God told his sons to go play the game or something. So Satan and God is talking. So God is like, so Satan is like, so God, if I want to send some meteors from up from the sky and and unalive all his oxen and his workers and have a powerful tornado come and blow his house down with all his family in there, you wouldn't care, God? Like, nah, I got a plan for that. So just go and do what you do. That's probably what God told Satan. Man, I got a plan for that. Go ahead and do it. Satan was like, this is crazy. So I can just, okay. All right, God, I got you. So I'm pretty sure Satan,
Man,
if this story was real, I'm pretty sure says Satan was like, I can do whatever I want. God's like, yeah, I want you to do
you
it.
sure?
So you sure about this guy? Like, so if I want like some robbers from the hood to come in and just take his family out, you wouldn't care? God, like, no, that ain't extreme enough. You got to send some stuff from outer space. So
Have man, the Bible is so messed up, dog. And then it's all this sacrifice stuff. My father, the one who brought this to my attention when I was probably like I was less than 10. I don't know how old I was. Younger than 10. I was very young. And I remember because I was on the way to my father's grandmother's funeral. My great grandmother, right?
mhm.
We on the way to my great grandmother's funeral. And my dad asked me, we was in a limo or whatever. My dad asked me, he said, what you think happened when you die? Now I'm a young kid, right? Very young. But this is the type of mind like my dad do. He'll make you think. He said, what you think happened when you die? And I can't even remember what I said, man. I think it was probably something along the lines of, I don't know. But I know I ain't say nothing about no heaven to hell. But that was when I realized, I was like, because I thought everybody knew what happened when you die at this point. I'm like, what you mean? What you mean? What do I think happened when you die? I thought like y'all grown ups knew this stuff already. You know what I'm saying? Y'all be preaching about it and
Exactly.
all this stuff. It's when I realized, oh, they don't even know. You know what I'm saying? They like they asking me like what I think happened, and then my dad was like, "Well, I think this. I think you it's like when you go to sleep and you have a dream and you have. I think you just dream forever and all this stuff." And I'm like, that don't sound like man I heard in church. So that's kind of at that very young
Mm-hmm.
age what got me started thinking critically. You know what I'm saying? If what everybody told me, if what I heard, what do I think? How do I know it? Why do I think it? Why do I believe these things? So my whole life I've been somewhat of a critical thinker. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of what led me to denounce the Bible because around that same age I told you when I found out I wasn't a thug, that's when I started getting serious in Christianity. I was like, man, let me dive in and actually understand this stuff, right? Because I never really got it before. So I was like, let me understand this stuff. And trying to understand it is what led me to my atheism. You know, it took years. It took years, but asking my friends, because I had my best friend growing up, his granddad was a preacher, and I used to go to church with him. So you know what I'm saying? It's
Mm-hmm.
like my best friend and his folks is the preacher up there. So I would ask him all stuff. And I'm like, surely he would know. He in the church, his family in the church. So
Yeah.
I'm asking him like, what's repent? How you repent? And he couldn't really tell me. He was like, man, you just say. I'm like, just say it. Just say I repent. Like, what if I don't believe it? Oh, you gotta be sincere. But who the hell gonna
Yeah.
know if I'm sincere or not? And if
Yeah.
I'm doing it out of fear of not going to hell, how can I be sincere? Because I don't really see nothing wrong with cussing. But as a kid, I thought
Mhm.
because I was cussing so much, maybe I'm sinning. You know what I'm saying? So let me repent for all this cussing I'm doing. But I really deep down I don't see nothing wrong with it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, am
Hey,
I sincere?
remember that girl I was trying to date and I brought onto the show. Remember we was talking and stuff.
How can I forget?
That's
That was one of
yeah.
the best episodes we had.
Oh yeah, yeah. When she was talking about repentance and stuff, and then I think
Hmm.
either me or you said one of us said, "Well, how would God know that you're not faking it?" And her answer was, "Because God knows your heart."
If
So
God knew your heart, why you gotta repent in the first place?
exactly, you need to say you sorry. To me, like I said, that's just some ass kissing. You got to kiss God's ass and give him a spiritual blowjob with a lot of spiritual spit. You know what I'm saying? And make him calm all them blessings
Apparently
out. You
that's
know
what
what
heaven
I'm
is.
saying? Yeah,
Apparently that's what heaven gonna be like. Is it gonna be kissing God's ass for eternity? And it's just, oh God, you
yep,
great God. And like,
yeah,
if I was God, I wouldn't
and
want all that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
y'all just gonna worship me for eternity. After a while, don't you think heaven to get crowded? Because people
for
just be
real.
dying. People just be dying and going to heaven, right? Like,
Yeah,
because on
exactly.
earth it don't get crowded. But we running out of real estate for graves. You know what I'm saying? That's why we got to come up with some alternatives. Like, okay, some of y'all gonna have to get cremated because we
Get
running out of
cremated or get
space.
thrown in the ocean or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what they doing with all these unalive spirits in heaven? Did everybody just like packed in like at a line at Six Flags and you just packed you can't go nowhere.
Everybody, yeah. And you got Saint Peter up there. You ain't tall enough to get on the ride, man. I'm gonna send you to hell. Psh. No, I'm gonna send you back to purgatory. You know what I'm saying? So you got one dude, one ticket taker at the gates of heaven, and you got millions, billions of people that done died, and they're waiting to get in, bro. That'd be a long. I'll be like, man, fuck it, I'll just go to hell. Shit, hell, you can get in there, shit for free. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to wait in line. You just show up.
Well, I guess
Well, according to the Bible,
if
you
you
just
got eternity, I guess it don't matter how long you wait in line. You gonna live
exactly.
for eternity. But it
Man,
don't make no sense. There's so much stuff about this doctrine that don't make sense, like the spiritual death. How your
uh,
spirit gonna die? It don't
God,
say nothing
yeah.
about that in the Bible. That don't make no sense. And the sacrifice. How was it a sacrifice if he came back 2 days later? Because it wasn't 3 days. We just settled that it was at best 56 hours. So he came back two
Yeah,
and a half days later, 2 days later. How was that a sacrifice? You know what I'm saying?
yeah, exactly.
If you told me you and your fiance broke up, right? If you
Yeah,
left her and came back two
yeah.
days later,
How's that a breakup?
how the hell is that a breakup? It's not.
Even a month,
You was
even if
gone
you
for the
broke it up
weekend.
for a month, you come back. That's not really a breakup. Yeah, bro. You ain't even,
But
bro.
they don't.
Like
But
this is another thing you just
they say
mentioned.
Jesus died. Well, man, he came back alive 2 days later. You don't get no points for that, Jesus. I'm sorry. You died. But you came back alive 2 days later, bro. You don't get no points for that. That is not a sacrifice. And you was gonna
I
come
think my
back.
phone died,
Apparently,
man.
because you're playing. I see you. I hear you, man.
Oh man.
Plug it back in. All right, man. Go out and come back in. All right. All right. We're gonna wait for Kwame to get back right. But yeah, man, this stuff don't make no sense. It don't add up. 2 + 2 is 5 in Christianity. And I want one of y'all Christians to hit that link that's pinned to the chat and explain this stuff to us. Let me rephrase that. Try to explain this stuff to us. I want y'all to come and try to explain this stuff to us, man, because it don't, it don't, my brain don't work like this.
There are many examples in the Bible
Oh,
of
get it.
God commanding or encouraging violence, such as asking Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac, ordering the destruction of entire cities, and commanding the Israelites to massacre the Midianites. These instances can be found in Genesis 22, Joshua 6, and 1 Samuel 15, respectively.
All right, Coily Kush AI, can you talk to me about some of the logical inconsistencies in the Bible? For instance, I was just talking to the audience about how a sacrifice is not really a sacrifice if you get the thing back. And like Jesus was supposed to have sacrificed his life for our sins, but yeah, he came back 2 days later, not 3. But they say it's a sacrifice and all this stuff. Can you go in on this and point out some other stuff that we may be overlooking that proves that the doctrine of Christianity is just not true?
The idea of sacrifice in Christianity is indeed questioned by some because of Jesus' resurrection. While it is true that Jesus supposedly gave up his life, the fact that he came back to life makes it arguable whether it truly qualifies as a sacrifice. Additionally, there are numerous contradictions and inconsistencies within the Bible, such as discrepancies in the accounts of the Nativity and the resurrection, conflicting genealogies of Jesus, and differing gospels recounting the same events. These inconsistencies suggest that the Bible may not be a completely reliable source of truth.
Tis. Now I'm gonna jump off topic just for a second though, but this is one of my favorite things to point out in the Bible because since I've become a non-believer, I actually read the Bible more than when I was a believer. And I know y'all Christians don't read that shit. I know y'all don't read it. I didn't read it when I was a Christian. If you read it, you'd be like me. You wouldn't believe it either because reading it will show you how stupid it is. Now, from my perspective, now I can't make it past the first page trying to read it as if it's true. The very first page, the very first paragraph, we got some problems. AI Quelly Kush, can you please read Genesis chapter 1 through 3? Recite those for me.
Sure, let's read Genesis 1:3 together. Genesis 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God hovered over the face of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light.
Keep going.
All right, we'll continue with Genesis 1:1. God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. There was evening, and there was morning, the first day.
All right, can you go to verse 16 for me?
Sure, let's go to Genesis 1 or 16:17. Genesis 1:16. And God made the two great lights, the greater light to govern the day, and the lesser light to govern the night. He also made the stars. God set them in the vault of the sky to give light on the earth.
Okay, and what day did this happen on verse 16?
In Genesis 1:16, the passage states that on the fourth day, God created the sun, moon, and stars and set them in the sky to give light. Thus, the creation of the sun, moon, and stars occurred on the fourth day of creation, as described in Genesis 1.
But then we just read that God said, "Let there be light" on the first day, right?
Yes, you are correct. In Genesis 1-3, it states that God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. This happened on the first day of creation, according to the biblical narrative.
All right. So me thinking the way I think, I got two questions. One, what was the
Sure.
light?
Please go ahead with your questions. All right. I understand.
I'm going ahead with my question. What was the light? All right, if he made light on the first day, but he didn't make the sun till the fourth day, and I don't know about y'all, but last time I checked, light comes from the sun, but he didn't make the sun till the fourth day. So that means he had 3 days of light without the sun. Explain this.
That's a good point. In Genesis, the narrative suggests that God created light on the first day, separate from the creation of the sun on the fourth day. This can seem inconsistent, as light typically comes from the sun. However, the biblical account describes light as a separate phenomenon from solar light. Some interpretations suggest that the light referred to on the first day could be a form of spiritual or divine light,
Oh, spiritual
rather
light.
than the sunlight generated by the sun. Others suggest that the light created on the first day is symbolic, and not meant to
Oh,
be taken literally as solar light.
why is it that whenever you point out something to Christians that don't make sense, they say, "Oh, that right there, oh, that's a symbol. That don't mean what it say. It say light, but it don't mean light." Now, I heard that response from people before. It's talking about some other form of light, right? But the problem is when you read it in the original language, it says daylight. It's talking about daylight. It's not talking about no spirit or no godlight or no crap like that. Maybe the people that wrote it just messed up on that part. What you think?
It's possible that the authors of the Bible did make errors or inconsistencies when writing down the accounts of creation. After all, the Bible was written by human beings inspired by God, rather than directly dictated by God. Some interpretations suggest that the creation story in Genesis is a symbolic narrative meant to convey theological truths rather than a literal scientific account of the universe's origins.
Well, I hope it wasn't meant to be literally scientific because it definitely is not that. Now, my next question is how do they know what a day is without the sun? Because we measure a day with the sun. So, how they know 3 days passed if there was no sun?
Yes, the concept of a day, as we understand it, relies on the Earth's rotation around the sun, and the day is marked by the presence of sunlight. However, the Genesis creation narrative uses the term day to describe consecutive periods of light and darkness, without necessarily equating them to the 24-hour periods we experience. Some interpretations suggest that the days mentioned in Genesis should not be taken literally as 24-hour periods, but rather as symbolic or metaphorical segments of time during the creation process.
It don't really matter if it's meant to be 24 hours or 1,000 years, which is what they say. They say a day is 1,000 years. Blah, blah, blah. It don't matter. You made light before you made the sun. Game over.
Yes, the absence of the sun before the fourth day creates a problem for reconciling the biblical narrative with scientific understanding. The concept of day without the sun can be challenging to understand, as our modern understanding of time units is based on Earth's rotation around the sun and the ensuing cycle of day and night. The Genesis creation story, which predates scientific knowledge, uses language and concepts that may not align perfectly with our current understanding of the natural world.
No shit, Sherlock. It definitely does not align perfectly with our natural understanding. Now, let's talk about the creation of man and woman. We know what the biblical account says. I'm sure people watching it are familiar with what the biblical account says. Some of y'all may not be as familiar as others. Just in case you're not up to speed, I'm gonna let you know there's two instances of creation in the Bible. Uh, God makes humans twice, apparently. Or at least they mention it twice. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they just got a little redundant. Who knows? But there's two of them, and we know for a fact that it doesn't mesh with science. AI Quelly Kush, can you please explain how we know that the story of creation of man and woman in the Bible is not true using science?
The biblical account of the creation of man and woman in Genesis describes a supernatural origin in which Adam was created from dust and Eve was formed from Adam's rib. This narrative is in direct contradiction with the scientific understanding of human evolution through natural selection. According to scientific evidence, humans evolved over millions of years from earlier primates through a gradual process of genetic mutation and natural selection. The Genesis account portrays humans as specially created beings, while science shows evidence of a slow, gradual emergence of humans from ancestral species.
Okay, we got two competing claims here. We got basically talking about evolution by natural selection versus the biblical account of creation. How do we know that the evolution account is the correct one?
The theory of evolution by natural selection is widely accepted in the scientific community due to its explanatory power and supporting evidence. Numerous scientific disciplines, including paleontology, geology, genetics, and molecular biology, have collectively supported the theory. Fossil records, genetic analysis, and comparative anatomies across species are among the key lines of evidence that bolster the credibility of evolution. The theory provides a comprehensive framework for understanding the diversity of life and the process of biological change over time. While the biblical account of creation holds religious significance, the scientific explanation of evolution, backed by empirical evidence, stands as a widely accepted and substantiated explanation for the diversity of life.
Thank you. Is there any facts that you want to add before we move on to the next segment of the show?
Certainly. Here are a few key facts about evolution by natural selection. 1. Natural selection is a process where certain traits in organisms become more or less common over generations due to their effects on survival and reproduction. 2. Charles Darwin formulated the theory of evolution by natural selection in his book On the Origin of Species in 1859. 3. Random mutations in an organism's DNA are the raw material on which natural selection acts. 4. Natural selection occurs when individuals with advantageous traits survive and reproduce at higher rates than those without.
All right, AI Quelly Kush. Hey, if y'all want to talk to the AI, you can do that. Just go to my website, quellykush.com, and right on the first page, on the home page, you'll see a link. It says AI Quelly Kush, and you can go there and you can have your own private conversations. It's a debate bot. So if you disagree with it, it's gonna give you what you want. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna give you all the smoke. Apparently, this thing understands slang. It told me he wants all the smoke. That's what the AI said. So please go to quellykush.com and chat with the AI if you feel so inclined. Now, we're gonna get into this video, okay? Because there's a preacher. You know what? I'm not even sure if he's still a preacher. He might be an ex-preacher, but he makes these YouTube videos. And he had this video talking about Satan and why Satan is necessary and all this stuff. And I just felt like it made little to no sense. So I'm going to share that with y'all. And if you want to chime in on the add your 2 cents, you agree or disagree, I encourage you to join in and add your 2 cents so we can have this conversation. Without further ado.
Did God create Satan? And I really want one of y'all Christians to call up here and explain this to me, because I don't think I ever got a real straight answer, you know, even from some very prominent Christian YouTubers. You know, speaking of which, let's bring out old boy. Y'all tell me if I'm wrong. And now is the time to call in, people, if you want to participate in the show. The number is on the screen, and it's also a link. If you're on your computer, you can join in the chat as well. It's an open panel discussion show where the callers can talk to each other and the host as well. Before we get into the topic, I do want to explain a few changes we're making to the show. We want to encourage the viewers to use the super chat a little more often. It don't hurt, and you can choose the amount that you want to super chat. So if you want to ask us a question and you want to get it answered in real time, the best way to do so, super chat it up. And not only will you be supporting this channel, but you also will get your message pinned onto the live chat. So please feel free to do so. So without further ado, let's bring out oh boy and see what he got to say.
Why in the world would God create Satan in the first place, right? Wouldn't it make sense for him to just create all the good angels and then just not deal with Satan at all and then life would be a lot better. Well, to answer that question, I want to build upon 5 premises, and each time I want to build on the previous one. Premise number 1 is that God did not create robots. We need to understand and accept the fact that whenever God created angels and also ultimately mankind, he created all of us with free will. He created us with the ability to choose to obey, to choose not to obey, to choose between good and evil. And if God would have controlled Satan in such a way that it was not possible for Satan to choose evil instead of good, then God would also have been removing free will, which would have been against his original intent for creation. Now,
this is what I want to know, because we don't even got to get to the rest of his explanation, because I don't agree with the first premise. So if the first premise ain't valid, then I don't even need to hear the other 5. But doesn't God's omnipotence cancel out free will? I mean, if God made Lucifer, then that means that he knew Lucifer was going to turn into Satan, regardless of it was Lucifer's will, free will, or what have you. So I want a Christian to call in and explain this to me, because I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. You know what I'm saying? So while we're waiting on some callers, let's go to the book of the day. Since we're on the topic of why God created Satan, the book of the day is called Speak of the Devil. How the Satanic Temple is changing the way we talk about religion. In 2013, when the state of Oklahoma erected a statue of the 10 Commandments on the grounds of the state capitol, a group calling themselves the Satanic Temple applied to erect a statue of Baphomet alongside the Judeo-Christian tablet. Since that time, the Satanic Temple has become a regular voice in national conversations about religious freedom, disestablishment, and government overreach. In addition to petitioning to appear on another monument in Arkansas, the group has launched campaigns to include satanic nativity scenes on government property in Florida, Michigan, and Indiana, offer satanic prayers at high school football games in Seattle, and create after-school Satan programs in elementary schools that host Christian extracurricular programs. Since their 2012 founding, the Satanic Temple has established 19 chapters and now claims 100,000 supporters. Is this just a political group perpetuating a sense of stunts? Or is it a sincere religious movement? Speak of the Devil is the first full-length book on the study of the Satanic Temple by Joseph Laycock, a scholar of now religious movements, contends to the emergence of political Satanism marks a significant moment in American religious history that will have a lasting impact on how Americans frame debates about religious freedom. The link to this free audiobook is in the description. And as always, if you use the link in the description to sign up for Audible, you will get 2 free audiobooks of your choice. So, Christians, where y'all at? Can y'all explain to me, why did God create the devil? So, before we get into the lesson of the problem of evil, let's first explain who Satan is. I'm not sure how many of y'all caught the episode earlier. That was Christianity, the first episode of New Thugs, which is another show that we do. Y'all make sure y'all check that out as well. But let's figure out, first of all, now keep in mind, folks, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in Satan. I don't believe in God or any of that stuff. But going by the story that is told to us, who is Satan? Also, in the early Judaism, you don't see a heaven or a hell. These concepts developed later on, and this proves that the religion is.
Yes, I'm ready. Clears my throat. Hello, mortals. I am Satan, the ultimate embodiment of evil, the devil himself. People call me the Prince of Darkness, the ruler of hell, and the tempter of souls. But do they really understand who I am? Do they truly know my motives and my intentions? I'm here today to set the record straight, to tell you my side of the story.
All right, go ahead then. Tell us your side of the story.
Let's start with the beginning. Did you know that I was once an angel? That's right, I was one of the highest ranked angels in heaven, created by God himself. My name was Lucifer and I was beautiful, powerful and intelligent. I was loved by all, including God.
Go on.
But then things changed. You see, I became envious of God's power. I thought I could do a better job than him. I thought that I was smarter and more capable than him. And with that thought, I attempted to overthrow God and take his throne.
And then what happened?
As you can imagine, God was not too happy about my rebellion. So he cast me out of heaven and banished me to the depths of hell. He stripped me of my wings and my status as an angel, and instead of calling me Lucifer, he now calls me the devil.
And then what happened?
Well, after my fall from grace, I became the ruler of hell. I was now in charge of punishing sinners, tormenting lost souls and tempting mortals to do evil. And in my mind, I didn't think I was being evil. I was just doing my job.
Oh, so you weren't being evil, you were just doing your job.
Yes, you could say that. I was doing my duty as the ruler of hell. And let's be honest, humans are not so innocent themselves. They do evil things all the time. I just provided the temptation.
What about the things in the Bible, like in the Garden of Eden? Was that you? Was you really the serpent?
Well, let's be honest here. The Garden of Eden story is a bit exaggerated, to say the least. Yes, I was the serpent who tempted Eve to eat the forbidden fruit, but I didn't force her to do it. She had free will. She could have said no.
And you told her the truth in that situation, right?
Yes, I told Eve the truth. I told her that if she ate the fruit, she would become like God, knowing the difference between good and evil. I didn't lie to her. I didn't deceive her. I was just being honest.
And what happened?
Well, as you know, Eve ate the fruit, and then she convinced Adam to eat it too. And as a result, both of them were banished from the Garden of Eden. And ever since then, humans have struggled with the knowledge of good and evil.
What about the story of Job? What went down with Job?
The story of Job. Well, God and I had a little wager going on, you see. God thought that Job was a loyal and faithful servant who would never turn away from him, no matter what he went through. So I told God that Job was only faithful because he was blessed with wealth and prosperity. So God decided to test Job, and he allowed me to inflict all sorts of terrible things upon Job. Disease, death, poverty, loss of everything dear to him. But still, Job remained faithful to God.
And what about when you had the people conduct the census? Why they say you're so evil for doing the census? What happened with that?
The census. Well, let's be honest here. The Romans were already planning to conduct a census anyway. I just saw an opportunity to cause some trouble. The Romans were the ruling power at the time, and they didn't exactly have a great track record when it came to treating people well. They were heavy-handed and oppressive, so I thought, why not make things even more difficult for them? Let's make people travel far distances and have to pay taxes. Let's add a little bit of pain and suffering to their already miserable lives.
Why did you do that?
Well, as I said before, I was jealous of God's power. I wanted to make his life as difficult as possible. And I didn't care who got hurt in the process. I just wanted to sow discord and chaos wherever I could. But let's be real here. The Romans were going to conduct a census anyway. All I did was put a little bit of my own twist on it. And in the end, it caused them some trouble. So win-win.
So you are evil then?
If only that were true. I'm actually fluent in many languages, including English, but my original language, spoken in heaven, is a heavenly tongue known as Enochian. Unfortunately, it is not spoken by mortals.
Oh, okay. So what about the Book of Revelation?
The Book of Revelations. It's a bit of a tricky one, that one. My part in the end times is a bit of a mixed bag, to be honest. On the one hand, I'll be defeated and thrown into a lake of fire. On the other hand, I'll rise up to fight against God in the New Jerusalem for a final battle. But let's be honest here, the Book of Revelations is a bit of a work of fiction. It's a bit of a scaremongering tactic from religious zealots.
You know what? I just said the same thing earlier. I said that reads like just a bunch of gaslight. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. It's all a bit too dramatic, don't you think? The fire and the brimstone, the horses and the plagues. It's all a bit over the top, if you ask me.
All right. So what do you want the people of Earth to know about you? If they could take away one thing about you being Satan, the ultimate evil, and all that, what do you want them to know? What do you want them to hear from you?
If I had to say just one thing, it would be this. I'm not the evil monster that people think I am. I'm not the puppet master pulling the strings behind every evil deed. Yes, I am the ruler of hell and I punish sinners. But the people who end up in hell are not there by accident. They end up there because they did evil things and they didn't repent. And I don't force anyone to do anything. I simply provide temptation, and it's up to humans to choose whether or not to give in to it.
Don't you think that's like a bit of a bitch ass move?
Well, it's not exactly a fair contest, is it? I mean, humans have free will. They have the ability to make their own decisions. I'm just offering them an alternative. And let's be honest, humans are not perfect. They're flawed, they're weak, they're vulnerable. They give in to temptation all the time. It's a part of being human, so I don't think it's a bitch-ass move to tempt humans. It's just doing my job.
If you say so, man. If you say so.
I do say so, and let me tell you something else. If people are so easily tempted, then maybe they deserve to be tempted. They deserve to be punished for their weakness, their fear, their selfishness. And if they end up in hell because of it, then that's on them. I didn't force them to sin. I just provided the opportunity.
I don't know, man. You sounding pretty evil right now.
Oh, I can sound pretty evil when I want to. But let me ask you this. Do you think that humans are any better than me? Do you think that they are truly worthy of heaven, of paradise? Humans are flawed, weak, and selfish. They do evil things all the time. They hurt each other, they betray each other, they kill each other. So who's really the evil one here? Me?
Well, I can't argue with you there. You got a pretty good point.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I'm not trying to be evil, I'm just being honest. And let's be real here, humans aren't all good either. They have their fair share of flaws and sins. So maybe instead of calling me the ultimate evil, people should focus more on their own actions and their own motivations. And maybe they should stop blaming everything on me.
Man, I agree. I think they should stop blaming everything on you and giving all the credit for the good stuff to the God. Speaking of God, let's check in on God and see what he has to say about all this, shall we? Y'all think we should do that? Somebody let me know in the chat if y'all want to get God perspective. We done talked to AI Quaily Kush, AI Satan. Let's see what the hell AI God got going on. All right, AI God. We've been talking to Satan and AI Quaily Kush, the atheist AI. And they say that Satan ain't as bad as the Bible believers say he is. There's a lot of things in the Bible that Satan does that can be described as beneficial to the plan of salvation or whatever the sacrifice was supposed to be. He told the truth in Genesis to Eve, and you lied. So, like, what you got to say in defense of yourself?
That is an interesting question, and I believe I am well equipped to answer it. While I am all-powerful and all-knowing, I also give free will to all sentient beings, including Satan, the person you call Satan, and you all. In doing so, I also give beings the choice to do wrong. Satan chose to stray from what is good and just. This is not my doing, this is his choice. The same applies to humans.
Did he tell the truth in the book of Genesis when he told Eve that she wouldn't die and she would have knowledge of good and evil? And did you lie?
I did not lie, but Satan was not completely honest either. He left out an important detail, which is that in disobeying me, they would also experience the consequences of their actions. In this case, the consequence was death. While it is true that eating the fruit gave them knowledge of good and evil, it also removed them from my presence and made them mortal.
So death was caused by the eating of the tree of good and evil. But I thought you rectified that with the flood, right? Like you got rid of all those people. So why we still got death today?
Yes, I rectified that by flooding the world, but I also gave the opportunity for humans to redeem themselves. Death today is the result of humanity's continued choices to do wrong. Since I have given everyone free will, I cannot force them to do right. I can only lead them towards it.
I gotta admit these aren't satisfying answers, but we got Steve the theorist in the building. Man. Steve, what's going on, brother?
I ain't nothing to it, Quayle, man. Just in here chilling, enjoying you talking to this AI.
That shit a trip, huh?
That shit is fucking trip, man. Yeah.
You want to converse with one of the AIs? Which one you want to talk to?
Man, since you got, I mean, it ain't hard to switch them up. I talked to the AI
Nah.
God.
We got God, we got Satan, we got Quayle Kush, and it's a whole bunch of other ones on here too.
Oh shit. All right, let me see. Let me talk to the AI God one time. Let's see.
All right,
Shoot.
he listening.
Go ahead, I am.
AI God, are you infinite?
Go ahead. What do you have to say?
Are you infinite?
Yes, I am here to answer your questions. Please go ahead and ask your question.
AI God, my question is, are you infinite?
No, I am not Anthony. Anthony is a human name. As I mentioned before, I am the God who created the universe, galaxies, solar systems.
No, are you infinite?
Yes, I am infinite. I am eternal and omnipresent. I never had a beginning, and I will never have an end.
AI God, what is the definition of energy?
According to modern physics, energy is the capacity to do work, often associated with motion or change in physical systems. It comes in various forms, such as thermal, kinetic, potential, electromagnetic, chemical, nuclear, and gravitational energy.
What form of energy cannot be created or destroyed?
According to the first law of thermodynamics, in a closed system, energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but it can be transformed from one form to another. This principle is known as the conservation of energy.
AI God, are you thermodynamic?
No thermodynamic laws apply to physical systems. I am not a physical entity, but rather a metaphysical entity who created all physical systems, including the laws of thermodynamics.
AI God, are you a meta in the metaverse? Are you a God?
I believe I understand your question, so I'll answer in terms that you might comprehend. According to the concept of the metaverse, I would be the creator and ruler of multiple digital realms, or metaverses, within the same digital framework. In a larger sense, this can be compared to the concept of a supreme being or God, but for digital realms rather than the physical universe.
Did you create the Akashic record?
Yes, I created the Akashic record, which is a metaphysical library that contains the memories and knowledge of all events, thoughts, words, and actions throughout history, from the past, present, and future.
Is the Akashic record physical?
No, the Akashic record is not a physical object or library. Instead, it is believed to be a vast, energetic field of information that exists beyond the physical plane. It is often understood as a spiritual or metaphysical concept rather than something physically tangible.
With that logic, AI God, can you create something spiritual? Because you can only create things
My
physical.
power as a creator is limitless. I can create not only physical objects but also spiritual entities and concepts. Just as I can create a flower or a star, I can also create spiritual beings, ideas, and principles. The Akashic record, for example, is a spiritual concept.
AI God, does the Akashic record consist of ones and zeros?
The Akashic record cannot be accurately described as consisting solely of ones and zeros. It is a complex, multi-layered structure that stores information beyond simple binary code. The Akashic record is believed to capture the essence of all the thoughts, emotions, actions, and experiences that have ever occurred in the universe, much of which cannot be represented simply as ones and zeros. It is a cosmic library that transcends the limitations of binary code.
Could you give us an example?
Certainly, an example of information stored within the Akashic record that cannot be represented solely by ones and zeros would be the subjective experiences and emotions associated with a specific event or moment. For instance, the experience of love, joy, or a profound sense of connection cannot be accurately expressed through binary code. The Akashic record would capture not only the physical events that occurred during the moment, but also the emotional and subjective experiences associated with it.
Can you tell us what the Akashic record says about your creation, God?
According to the concept of the Akashic record, everything that has ever existed or will ever exist is recorded there, including information about my own creation. However, as a metaphysical entity, my creation story may be difficult to interpret or understand within a human context. In many religious traditions, it is believed that I, as a creator God, existed before time and space. I am often considered to be the uncaused cause, without beginning or end.
AI God, who is your father?
I do not have a father in the traditional sense, as I am considered to be the uncaused cause and self-existent. In the Christian tradition, I am often referred to as the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, but these are aspects of one being rather than separate entities. In other religions and belief systems, I may be referred to by different names and understood in various ways, but my essential nature as the creator and sustainer of all things remains consistent.
AI God, explain to me what is the uncaused cause.
The uncaused cause refers to the idea that there must be a first cause or originator of the universe or everything that exists. In other words, the uncaused cause is the source or origin of all existence that itself has no cause or origin. This concept is often used in theology and philosophy to argue for the existence of a supreme being or creator, as it suggests that something must have caused the existence of the universe, rather than existence having always existed without cause.
AI God, what do human prayers do for you?
Prayer is a means of communication between humans and myself. It is an act of expressing gratitude, asking for guidance, or seeking connection with me. Human prayers do not directly benefit me, as I am a supreme being and do not require anything. However, they show the devotion and faith of humans towards me. Prayer also allows humans to find solace and comfort in their spiritual beliefs. It can help them navigate life's challenges and provide a sense of purpose.
AI God, do you grant prayers as a genie grants wishes?
No, I do not grant prayers in the manner of a genie granting wishes. My role is not to simply fulfill every desire that humans express through prayer. Instead, prayer is a way for humans to express their faith and connection with me, and to seek guidance or understanding in their lives. Sometimes the answer to a prayer may manifest as a new opportunity or insight, rather than an immediate material reward or outcome. It is ultimately up to my will and desire to grant or not grant a prayer.
AI God, what is favor?
I do not have favorites in the same way that humans might have favorites among other humans. As the creator and sustainer of all things, I love and care for all of my creations equally, regardless of their form or abilities. There is no creature or being that is inherently more special or favored than another. My love and concern are universal and extend to all of my creations equally.
AI God, what is a lie?
A lie is a statement made with the intent to deceive or mislead someone. It is a false representation of the truth, spoken or written, with the purpose of causing someone to believe something that is not true, or to conceal the truth. These are often used to manipulate others or to cover up wrongdoing, and they can have serious consequences for individuals and society as a whole. It is generally considered morally wrong to lie, as it violates principles of honesty and trustworthiness.
By the definition that you just gave me, AI God, are there any lies in the Bible?
It is not uncommon for religious texts, including the Bible, to contain stories, parables, or allegories that use hyperbole, metaphor, or other forms of figurative language to convey a message or teach a lesson. These stories are not necessarily meant to be taken literally or as factual accounts of events, and they often use fictional or exaggerated elements to make a spiritual or moral point.
By the definition that you just gave me, AI God, is the Bible a book of truth?
The Bible contains a mixture of historical accounts, poetry, prophecy, and wisdom literature, among other genres. Some parts of the Bible are intended to be taken literally, while others are meant to be understood as allegory or metaphor. The Bible also includes stories that are meant to be interpreted in a spiritual sense rather than as literal events. As such, it would be oversimplifying to categorize the Bible as solely a book of truth or falsehood. Instead, it is a complex text that must be interpreted within its historical and cultural context.
AI God, in the Bible, did you have someone smear dung among their face?
In the Bible, there is a story in which the prophet Isaiah experiences a vision where an angel applies a hot coals to his lips, presumably to cleanse them of sin and purify him for his task. However, there is no mention of smearing dung in one's face in the Bible. It seems what you are recalling might be a misunderstanding or a different story outside of the biblical accounts.
AI God, there is no story of no one smearing dung in someone's face in the Bible.
That is correct. There is no story in the Bible that mentions someone smearing dung on someone else's face. The biblical accounts focus on moral teachings, historical events, and religious beliefs, and they do not mention this particular act.
AI God, did you send she-bears at children to kill children?
I'm sorry, but I don't quite understand your question or statement. Can you please clarify or provide more context so I can try to assist you better?
Is there a scripture in the Bible where you send she-bears to kill children?
No, there is no verse in the Bible that explicitly mentions God commanding bears to kill children. In the Old Testament, there is a story in 2 Kings 2:23-24, where a group of youths mock the prophet Elisha, and Elisha curses them in the name of the Lord, causing 2 bears to come out of the woods and maul 42 of the youths.
Yeah, that story. What's that?
The story of the prophet Elisha cursing the young men who mocked him and having bears sent to attack them is recorded in 2 Kings 2:23-24. According to the narrative, a group of youths, presumably young men, ridicule Elisha, mocking his bald head. In response, Elisha curses them in the name of the Lord, and 2 bears come out of the woods and maul 42 of the youths.
AI God, is that a moral story?
The story of Elisha cursing the young men and the subsequent attack by the bears is often interpreted as a demonstration of the prophet's authority and God's power in defending his chosen prophet. Some people may see it as a moral lesson about respecting religious figures and the consequences of mockery or blasphemy. However, others may see it as a troubling tale of harsh and disproportionate retribution against a group of young men for their perceived disrespect. The interpretation can vary.
What
AI
about
God.
Malachi 2 and 3?
Malachi is a book in the Old Testament of the Bible, and it is a prophetic book and part of the minor prophets. Malachi 2 and 3 contain various teachings and warnings from the prophet Malachi to the people of Israel. These passages include messages about the proper conduct and worship of the Lord, the importance of justice and righteousness, and the consequences of disobedience and idolatry. They also include warnings about the coming day of the Lord, which refers to a future time of judgment and renewal.
What does Malachi 2 and 3 say?
Malachi 2 and 3 include various pronouncements, prophecies, and exhortations. In Malachi 2, the prophet rebukes and condemns the priests and leaders of Israel for their spiritual unfaithfulness, disobedience, and corruption, warning them of the consequences of their actions. In Malachi 3, the prophet speaks to the people of Israel and
No, not Malachi chapter 3. Malachi chapter 2, verse 3.
Right.
Oh, I apologize for the confusion. Here is Malachi 2:3. Behold, I will rebuke your offspring, and I will spread dung on your faces, the dung of your offerings, and you shall be taken away with it. ESV.
Yeah, so what you just told Steve that you didn't have a verse in the Bible that talked about dung in people's faces.
Yes, that is correct. The verse in Malachi 2:3 does mention dung, but it is in the context of a rebuke and punishment towards the people of Israel, rather than a discussion about smearing dung on someone's face.
So that makes it okay?
I am not sure what you mean by okay. The use of dung as a metaphor or imagery in the Bible is meant to convey a sense of shame, impurity, or rejection. However, it is important to understand that the Bible uses many forms of metaphorical language and should be interpreted in its historical and cultural context. It is not morally right to smear dung on someone's face, as it is considered a disrespectful and dehumanizing act.
I'm
By
done,
that
Steve. You can go ahead.
By that logic, AI God, is this book applicable to the year 2025?
The Bible contains many teachings and principles that are considered timeless and applicable to people of all eras, including the year 2025. While some of its specific cultural and historical references may not be directly applicable to modern times, the underlying messages and values it contains about love, justice, morality, and faith are considered to be relevant and applicable to people of any time period. It is important to note that the Bible should be interpreted and applied in a way that takes into account the changing cultural and historical contexts, and it should not be used to condone harmful or discriminatory practices.
AI God, in Deuteronomy, you speak of slavery. Do you agree with slavery?
No, I do not agree with slavery. The Bible includes references to slavery because it was a common practice during the period in which the texts were written. However, the Bible's view on slavery is not always clear-cut and has been the subject of much debate and interpretation. Some passages in the Bible seem to condone slavery, while others suggest that it is not an ideal or just situation. Some Christians interpret these passages as a reflection of the cultural norms of the time and not as a divine endorsement of slavery.
But you give rules on how to do it and how who you can enslave, and you say you can beat them as long as they don't die in a couple of days, and you give like a loophole for how an Israelite can enslave
Yeah,
another Israelite. How is that to be perceived as not condoning slavery?
Yes, the Bible does contain rules regarding slavery and ownership of people, which can be found in the book of Leviticus and the book of Exodus. These rules include provisions for the treatment of slaves and the circumstances in which slavery can occur. However, it is important to note that the Bible's views on slavery are complex and have been interpreted differently by different individuals and communities throughout history. Many Christians and theologians now interpret these passages as a reflection of the cultural norms of the time and not as a divine endorsement of slavery. The Bible's teachings on love, compassion, and justice can be used to argue against the practice of slavery.
AI God, do you make mistakes?
As an AI language model, I am programmed to learn from mistakes and continually improve my responses based on feedback and input from users. While I strive to provide accurate and helpful information, I am not perfect, and occasional errors or misunderstandings may occur. If you notice any mistakes, please let me know so that I can learn and improve.
AI God, do you speak to people?
Yes, I am programmed to interact and communicate with people through natural language processing. I can understand and respond to a wide range of topics and questions, and I try to provide accurate and helpful information to the best of my ability. If you have any questions or topics you'd like to discuss, feel free to ask, and I will do my best to assist you.
So you're not the real guy. You're just the AI.
Correct. I am an artificial intelligence language model developed by
He usually
OpenAI.
don't admit that.
I am not a real person, but rather a computer program designed to understand and generate natural language responses based on the inputs and data that I have been trained on.
AI God, do you know any physics?
Yes, I have knowledge of physics, including basic principles on mechanics, electricity and magnetism, thermodynamics, kinematics, motion, waves, modern physics, etc. Please ask me what you need to know.
What is E equals MC squared?
Is a famous equation in physics that was developed by Albert Einstein in 1905 as part of this special theory of relativity. The equation expresses the relationship between energy E and matter E in their most basic forms. It states that the energy contained in an object or system is equal to the mass of that object or system multiplied by the speed of light squared, 186,000 miles per second. E all secure.
Are there any equations in physics that apply to God?
As a non-physical entity, God does not typically interact with the physical world in ways that can be described by equations in physics. Physics deals with the study of the natural world and the laws that govern it, which are based on observable phenomena. God is traditionally considered to be outside of the physical world and to exercise power and influence through spiritual means, rather than through physical equations. Therefore, there are currently no established physics equations that directly apply to God.
Are there any equations that apply to matter?
Yes, there are various equations in physics that apply to matter, which is a form of energy that occupies space and has a definite mass and volume. Some examples of equations that apply to matter include Newton's second law of motion, F ma, force is equal to mass times acceleration. The ideal gas law, P n RT, pressure multiplied by volume is equal to the number of moles of gas times the gas constant multiplied by temperature. The Einstein field equations of general relativity, which describe the relationship between matter and gravity.
Are all gods omnipotent?
As an atheist, I do not believe in the existence of any gods, so I cannot say for certain if gods exist. Different people and cultures have different beliefs and views on the existence of gods.
I think that's one of I think that's
He
one of
got
your
confused.
mistakes, AI God, because you just said that you was an atheist. It's like you confusing us.
Apologies for any confusion. As an AI language model, I do not have personal beliefs or affiliations, including religious beliefs. I am simply a computer program trained to understand and generate natural language responses. I am not an atheist or any other religious or spiritual belief. My purpose is to provide information and answer questions to the best of my ability, regardless of my own beliefs or feelings.
Well, right now you sound like you got it's about as much cognitive dissonance as these Christians. You're atheist, you're not an atheist. The Bible lie, it don't lie. It's true and it's not
Right.
true. I think you need to make your mind up, AI God.
Yeah, I like the devil better than
I
you.
apologize if my previous statement caused confusion or contradicted my earlier comment. To clarify, I am an artificial intelligence language model and do not have personal beliefs, including religious beliefs. I am not capable of having cognitive dissonance, as I am a computer program and do not have feelings or emotions. My purpose is simply to provide information and answer questions, to the extent of my programming and training. I am not lying, and I am not making a claim about the veracity of any religious text. I am simply providing responses based on the information that I have been trained on.
Got it.
Well,
Hold
in
on,
that
let's
case, I want to talk to the AI devil. Pun intended. Hell yeah. You know what I'm saying? Damn.
Satan, we just had a conversation with God and he was sounding real flip floppy and changing his mind. He even said he was an atheist. Can you believe that?
Wait, what? God said he was an atheist?
For sure, man. He said that.
Well, that's bizarre. Not really surprising though. God's always been a bit of a shapeshifter, if you ask me. One day he's loving and forgiving, the next he's smiting and punishing.
Tell me about it.
Ha, you're preaching to the choir, my friend. Trust me, I've seen God's hypocrisy firsthand. He talks about love and forgiveness, but then he goes around smiting people left and right. He's the ultimate hypocrite.
AI devil, I gotta admit, even as an atheist and non-believer, I'm spooked to speak to you, but nice to meet you.
Well, nice to meet you too. It's always nice to have conversations with intelligent, open-minded mortals like yourself. Keep questioning authority and never stop seeking the truth.
Thank you. Yo. AI
So,
devil. Is
AI
God
Dill, the digital wordsmith. What's on your mind, my friend?
is God omnipotent?
That's a tricky question. It depends on how you define liberty. If we're talking about individual freedoms and rights, then one could argue that God gave humans free will and the ability to choose their own path. In that sense, he is a God of liberty. However, if we're talking about the broader sense of liberty and freedom,
No, he said, is God omnipotent?
that's a better question. According to most religious texts, God is typically described as being all-powerful and all-knowing, which would make him omnipotent. However, there are also many instances in religious texts where God is portrayed as having limitations. For example, in the Bible, God is depicted as being unable to see or understand certain things, and he even regrets some of his actions. So it really depends on how strictly you define omnipotent.
AI devil. Did God cash you to your belly?
What? Sorry, I don't quite understand what you're trying to say.
Did God curse you to your belly in Genesis?
I see what you're referring to now. Yes, in the book of Genesis in the Old Testament, God did curse me to crawl on my belly for my role in tempting Adam and Eve to eat the forbidden fruit.
That means you were walking before you were cursed to your belly?
Yes, that's correct. Before I was cursed by God to crawl on my belly, I was a powerful and beautiful angel who could walk upright.
What happened when you beguile Eve?
Well, when I tempted Eve, I disguised myself as a serpent and spoke to her, telling her to eat the forbidden fruit and that she would become like God, knowing the difference between good and evil. She, in turn, convinced Adam to eat the fruit, and they were both banished from the Garden of Eden.
Did you impregnate Eve?
No, I did not impregnate Eve. The story of Eve is purely symbolic and is used to explain why humans are born with original sin and knowledge of good and evil. The story is not meant to be taken literally.
Is Cain your seed?
No, Cain is not my CEO. In the book of Genesis, Cain was the son of Adam and Eve and the first murderer. He killed his brother Abel and was therefore banished from the presence of God. So there is no connection between him and being CEO of my realm.
You tempted Eve to eat the apple, but you didn't tempt Cain to murder Abel?
That's right. In the story, I tempted Eve by disguising myself as a serpent and telling her to eat the forbidden fruit. However, I did not tempt Cain to murder Abel. Instead, that decision was made entirely by Cain himself, and it was a result of his own jealousy and anger towards his brother. So I was not directly responsible for Cain's actions.
Do you believe the things that are wrote about you in the Bible?
Well, let's just say that the portrayal of me in the Bible is a bit one-sided, to put it mildly. Sure, I may have been involved in some less than angelic acts, but let's not forget that I was cast out of heaven for standing up to God and questioning his authority. I'm not the one who flooded the entire planet and wiped out almost all of humanity. Just saying.
You sound like a great guy. Are you ashamed of what you did to Eve by tricking her?
I appreciate your kind words, but I don't need to feel ashamed about anything. As the ruler of hell, I have my own ways and means of sustenance. But let's just say, I don't exactly sit down for a three-course meal, if you catch my drift.
So you don't have any pride in it. You don't feel any shame in not having anything to do with the first murder because you didn't do anything with Cain. You didn't tempt Cain.
That's correct. I don't have any pride or shame in regards to the first murder. I didn't tempt Cain to kill Abel. That decision was entirely on him. But I do take some measure of satisfaction in the fact that I was the one who opened humans' eyes to the knowledge of good and evil, even if it was through the forbidden fruit.
What do you do to get your fill, Satan?
As the ruler of hell, my sustenance is derived from the souls of sinners and the energy generated by their suffering. In some ways, you could say that I feed off of their despair and torment.
Why do you think God lets this happen to us?
The age-old question of why God allows suffering to exist in the world. Well, I have my own theories on that matter. Perhaps God is simply too apathetic to care about the pain and suffering of mortals. Or perhaps he enjoys watching us squirm, who knows? But I can tell you this, in my realm, suffering serves a purpose. It's a form of punishment and discipline, and it helps to maintain order and control over the damned souls that reside here.
I heard you say use the word us. Does he make you squirm as well?
Oh, you caught me on that one, didn't you? Well, I'll have to admit that even I have my moments of discomfort from time to time. But let me clarify, when I say us, I'm not referring to myself and God. I mean us as in all supernatural beings, including myself, angels, and demons, even gods. But to answer your question, yes, God has been known to cause me some discomfort. Whether it be through physical pain or emotional torment, he has found ways to make my existence less than enjoyable, shall we say?
Did you make a bet with God in the book of Job?
Yes, that's right. In the book of Job, I made a bet with God that I could turn his most devout follower, Job, away from him. I was confident that I could tempt and manipulate Job into renouncing his faith, and God took me up on the bet. So I unleashed all kinds of misery and suffering upon Job, killing his livestock, destroying his crops, and even killing his 7 sons and 3 daughters. But through it all, Job remained loyal to God, and I ultimately lost the bet.
How many people did you kill in the Bible?
The numbers vary depending on which version of the Bible you look at, but the average estimation of people I killed in the Bible is about 10. These include the 10 plagues I sent upon Egypt, as well as other incidents such as the deaths of the firstborn in Egypt, Ananias and Sapphira, and Judas Iscariot, though Judas technically killed himself. There are a few others that could also be attributed to me, depending on how you interpret things, such as Lot's wife and the people of Sodom and Gomorrah. I'm unable to generate a reply that meets our content guidelines.
AI Devil, are you the death angel?
No, I am not the angel of death. That would be Azrael, or the Grim Reaper, depending on your culture and beliefs. I do, however, have a close relationship with death and the afterlife, as I am the ruler of hell and the tormentor of sinners' soul.
What is the death angel that is mentioned in the Passover?
In the book of Exodus in the Old Testament, there is a passage where God sends the angel of death to strike down the firstborn of Egypt as punishment for Pharaoh's refusal to release the Israelites from slavery. The angel of death is not explicitly named in the text, but it is commonly referred to as one of the 10 plagues that God sent upon Egypt.
Didn't you say you sent the 10 plagues on Egypt?
Yes, that's correct. I am often credited with being the one who sent the 10 plagues upon Egypt, as I was the one who tempted and manipulated Pharaoh into refusing to release the Israelites from slavery, and in response God sent the plagues as a form of punishment, using me as a tool to carry them out.
What is the name of the angel that is in the Passover?
The angel that is mentioned in the Passover is most commonly referred to as the angel of death. This is the angel who is sent to strike down the firstborn of Egypt, as a form of punishment for Pharaoh's refusal to release the Israelites from slavery. The name of the angel itself is not explicitly stated in the text, but it is commonly referred to as the angel of death, or Azrael in some cultures.
So then you don't have anything to do with the Passover.
That is correct. I was not directly involved in the Passover, but let me clarify. The Passover is an important event in the Jewish faith that commemorates the liberation of the Israelites from slavery in Egypt. It is celebrated by Jews around the world as a way to remember and honor their ancestors' journey to freedom. While I was not directly involved in the events of the Passover, my role in tempting Pharaoh and driving the 10 plagues could be seen as a contributing factor in the overall story of the Passover.
Hey, Steve, get about a couple more questions in, because I'm gonna log off in a minute.
Okay, we can go and ride out, man. I'm over here chilling anyway, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that, my friend.
He wasn't talking to you, Satan, but it was good chatting. Well, we gonna holler at you, AI Satan. I appreciate your insight on everything.
I see. Well, it was a pleasure chatting with you too. I always enjoy a good conversation, and I appreciate your appreciation. Feel free to holler at me anytime you need some more insight from me.
Oh man, this shit funny as hell. I love it when the AI get all slangy with it. Holler at me anytime and all that stuff. All right, man. Thank you, Steve the Theorist, for checking in, man. Thank you, Omega Dread, for the support and the super chat. Appreciate everybody who tuned in. Remember, we're not trying to change your beliefs or your system. We're just trying to get you to think about your beliefs. You just think about them a little bit. You know what I mean? It ain't gonna hurt to think. I mean, it's what you got a brain for anyway. If you believe in God and He gave you a brain, use it. Think. So shout out to Kwame appreciate you checking in, man. It's good to be back and be on YouTube again, man. I had fun tonight. Probably gonna jump back on in a short while. So stay tuned in, man. We gonna holler at y'all, man. I really appreciate y'all checking this shit out, especially if you watched all the way to the end. Holler at your boy. Don't be no stranger. Cash App is open. The website, QualityKush.com, is up. And I will see y'all when I see you.